do it.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Making the little Tumblr post for the
Yeah.
Tumbly Poos.
So, you might be wondering why Devin looks different, and it's because, uh, the his internet connection broke, or maybe it's just Discord. So he's calling me on his
Yes.
phone.
So I'm not as crisp. Oh, my hand looks so big, and I need to just change my wearing everything. But so I'm not as crisp, but I'm here and I'm ready. Oh my God, no, I look so awful even on the Twitch stream I'm sitting here. But this is what pure, unalloyed Grimes knowledge does to somebody.
Yeah, the amount of Grimes knowledge that is about to happen, uh, corrupted Devin's internet connection.
So did somebody pick the name Radish Spirit Halloween because we've talked about Spirit Halloween before, or is it just had that much of a chokehold on the culture that independently someone's name
it's a
is Spirit Halloween?
it's a
Okay.
very good name. Also, huge shout out to Trans Peaks. Just an incredible username.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, there's just a lot of synergy happening of good ideas here.
Good shit happening.
Very powerful shit. Oh, hey, Seb.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Seb.
And yeah, that lip color is fantastic.
This is the lipstick that when I was getting married, my friend was like online pro dom for a while. It destroyed her brain because she active like she would basically was paid to call men disgusting and belittle them, but the problem is she like couldn't separate her work from what she was actually like her own brain. Like she was actually like, these men are so fucking disgusting and I hate them. And it was like it like hate spending so much of her time doing like hating men was like so much. But anyway, um
Oh my God. And people crave having a career where they get to hate men for a living,
oh
but
yeah, it
be careful what you wish for.
she was great at it. I mean, and this is just from like an outside like how it seemed to be for her. She was great at it, and I think it was a lot of fun in some ways, but also like a lot. But anyway, she was like, I was like, I'm nervous. I don't ever wear lipstick, so I was nervous about wearing it all day for the wedding. And she was like, "Oh, I'm in these like sex worker, like on the sex worker side of Tumblr, and sex workers always talk about how the fucking blow job lipstick, like, because you gotta fucking have good ass lipstick to suck dick and have it not fuck up.
Hmm.
And so this is the blowjob lipstick that she found through Tumblr. So yeah.
Yes. Getting married in the blowjob lipstick.
I actually didn't get married in the this is actually slightly different. It's a similar color to what I wore, but it did not come in time because it was like from the UK or something, unfortunately.
Uh, I've definitely heard like putting like I don't know, either some kind of setting powder or like even like hairspray, I think, over the lipstick sometimes helps like set it.
Yeah, I had there was I got my makeup done from a professional, and what I don't know, I don't remember what she did, but it did work really well until the end when it got destroyed by fried chicken. I mean, the UK in most
Everything.
things is terrible.
Yeah, yeah, chocolate oranges are fine. That's
Yep. There's that,
yeah,
and
there's some things.
we're gonna talk more about that today.
Yeah, yes. They made them smaller. Oh my God, orangeflation strikes again. And chunky dino soup. What do you mean tacky? This is the pinnacle of taste.
Oh my god, it's for okay, but is the lipstick kind of coming off not the part of what makes the blowjob good? You're so fucking right. You're right, and you should say it.
Oh my God. It's for our, I'm learning things about you. I know the monster fucker partner that you
Yeah.
have, and you liking a sloppy makeup smeared blowjob. I'm liking what I'm hearing.
It's
What's going down at It's for Our HQ.
it's a really fucking good aesthetic.
Yes. But yes, everyone, we're here today to talk about problematicity and liking things by awful people and pirating things by awful people
Yeah.
and what even it means to where we draw the line. Maybe some info dumping about Grimes lore because I'm knee deep in the paint with that shit.
That needs to
And
happen that is gonna
yes.
that's gonna probably be the biggest part, the biggest segment, if I get my way, because I don't know most of this stuff, so I'm excited for that. I don't care what chat wants.
Yes, railroad this stream. Yeah, we'll get to that. Why don't we start with like one that we mutually have though, Maddie, which is uh the Dorian Electra
Yeah.
kind of conundrum. Because I think that's a really interesting one because there's lots of things they've gotten critiqued for over the years that are a whole gradient
Uh-huh.
of shit. A lot of
Yep.
it very like to me mild, like, oh, they used to make libertarian music videos when they were 18. Like,
Yep.
so did I. The fuck. Yeah.
Not just music videos. Okay, so Dorian Electra first got any amount of fame from, oh, I guess it was, they were music videos. They like went to an art college. So this was like in college. They were like a big time libertarian and did, it was like this weird art college where it was very much like, do your assignments the way that you want to do them. And so they did a
You make up
video.
your own major. Yeah.
Right. And so they did like, it was like a music video, but it was also like straight up like a video essay about, do you remember who it was? Or was it just libertarians in general?
It was Friedrich Hayek, and it's still out there. It's like I'm in love with Friedrich Hayek.
That's, yes.
Um, let me see if I can find it.
Oh, we could
I'm
totally
assuming we
watch
can't
that.
play these things. Oh, could we? I
Yeah.
would love to right now
I
because it's an interesting cultural artifact.
I don't think I've ever actually,
Yeah,
if I've watched all of it, I don't remember watching all of it.
and I
Um
can drop a link in the Discord if that's helpful. Oh I'm like moving my phone so I can see my computer screen.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
God.
and so for people that aren't familiar with Dorian Electra is non-binary, and this is a very old video.
Yeah.
There, so just as a, oh,
Yeah. As a heads
hold
up.
on, where's my mouse?
But yeah, a queer pop kind of figure or hyper pop figure. They haven't really put out much in a little bit, but they were very, Flamboyant was their most popular album. So we're
Yeah,
talking like 2019, 2020, 2021, being very active.
we'll pull up some pictures at least. That stuff probably will get us flagged, but um, should I stream in? Oh, you know what I can do is probably the best thing. Um,
Chubby Kumquat says, went to art college, canceled right there. That's real.
yep.
That's like the Nepo baby conversation. Like if you have
Oh my
underlined
god.
parents' names in Wikipedia, you are first on the chopping block.
Yes. Um, can you see the video on your phone, Devin?
No, and I don't see it on the
Oh,
stream
right,
yet
because
either.
do you see? You don't see it on.
Okay. Okay, now I see it.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, masters in filmmaking, that's pretty bourgeois. So,
Hey there, Friedrich Hayek, you're looking really nice. Your methodology is oh so precise. You break down social science to the fundamentals. Rules and social order are the essentials, the use of knowledge in society. By each of us we make the economy. It's not magic that somehow our plans all align. The result
This
of
is like also
human
eerily
action
what I
of
looked like
human
during my libertarian
design.
phase.
God, I think I've seen like one picture of that, and it's not wrong.
Signals and
Like
misinformation.
bangs, like especially this hair, the bangs.
Did you have the bangs? Oh my fucking god.
I had the bangs. I was really going for some like indie girl
The use of
shit.
knowledge in society. By each of us we make the economy. It's not magic that somehow our plans all align. The result of human action, of human design. Since these low
It's so funny how like
interest rates,
basic
you
this
said,
is
are
too. Just like little
now
piano and
investments
saddle
come as no
shoes.
But it's funny how the
surprise.
like the singing,
Mistakes will all
like
be
the
revealed.
melody of the vocals is so much like recognizable as a Dorian Electra song.
Yeah, they have a certain like vocal inflection, or like I don't know the right terminology, but like there's like these little. Oh, here we go. Daydreaming being the waifu of Hayek.
Yes.
We'd work together on that business cycle theory. Oh, darling.
And this is like.
That looks like them. And then there's some drag.
Yep.
On which you can rest. I'll make tea.
Oh yeah, Seb says like early Bo Burnham, which is very accurate.
Yes, good God. And Janice Elrose, this is baby Dorian Electra's tribute to libertarian economist Friedrich Hayek.
Is that Chicago?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They got started in Chicago. They actually worked at this point at like at a strip club over by O'Hare. Was also part of where they kind of cut their teeth as a performer. I guess when they were stripping, they would do this thing where like they would dress like a pretty standard like strip club outfits, but then they would uh, perform this character of being like this greasy like Italian man like
What?
inside like they would like look like a stripper in like a bikini G-string whatever, but they would just like talk like in like a greasy like man voice, and like they just had like a few clients who were like very into that, and so that was like also their first they them was born.
That's fucking incredible. No, why are you
But
not
yeah,
working?
um
Some of my technology isn't working, but that's okay.
every day it finds new ways to challenge us. But yeah, so Dorian has been very like in interviews and stuff has talked about how they had this one like advisor, I guess, in college who was like very libertarian, and he almost had this like quasi cult of like students who kind of were just eating out of his hands. Have you heard about this?
No, I don't know any of this stuff.
Yeah. They gave an interview about this, and they kind of said like, oh, I don't want to offload any responsibility because I was, an adult and I made these videos and I had these beliefs, but I was definitely like in the sway of this person who was like this kind of like academic libertarian Svengali kind of figure, whatever,
What?
who like just had all of these like students who were all just like eating out of the palm of his hand. So that's part of how they kind of explain it. But also, as someone who just believed that stuff myself and like was
Yeah.
like Team Ron Paul,
We love
like I'm not even the revolution love. Like I don't think anybody needs it. Like it's just whatever. A lot of us were believing a lot of really silly things because we thought I don't know. And this will probably come up also in the Grimes conversation. I think sometimes some of these like fringe, ultimately very reactionary ideologies are like very appealing to a certain class of like closeted queer person, especially the white ones.
Yeah.
That's a whole, we can get into that later, but that seems to be a trend I've noticed.
Yeah, like and that's just like, so to back up from like this story perspective, this is, I think we've maybe talked about this before. Yeah, luckily my cult leader professor was an anarchist. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Uh,
Bet.
um, but me and Devin, we met at a Dorian show. There's a great article that you wrote that kind of goes, what was that, the one about strawberry people? Is that the
Yeah, I think it was the Autistic Guide to Making Friends
yeah.
talked about that. Yeah.
And so that's how we met, and so we were kind of in like the Dorian. Where how much were you in Dorian Stan Twitter? I don't, or did you just get it from us?
I was not super in the fan community online, which so that's something that'll be really good for to hear you speak to. I mean, I've heard a lot of the tea, but I think it's a good thing for the chat. Um, I basically just like I had a friend who sent me the flamboyant video, or no, the career boy video, and it was like, oh, that's me, that's my shit, you know. Like it was just so resonant that I was like, I need to see more of this person, and then I looked
Right.
into that concert, having pretty recently got into them, and my friend that was going to meet me couldn't make it, and so I was just kind of stumbling around, and then y'all came up to me, and here we are
I
today,
know.
and we've been to a couple of different Dorian concerts since then, and a lot of online ones actually,
Yeah.
and ridden out all kinds of fandom drama along the way.
Yeah. So I got Twitter. The reason I actually well, I think I made a Twitter like really early on and then didn't touch it. And then the thing that I started to use my Twitter again for was I saw a game on Reddit, like an indie game on Reddit that I was like, this shit looks sweet. And that was like, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago or something. And it's funny because that game is just about to come out. Um, but I didn't really use Reddit, or excuse me, use Twitter very much. I just didn't follow anybody. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but I ended up using like I heard that Dorian was on Twitter, and I got on Twitter and started following them, and it was like that was what kind of where my Twitter usage like kind of came out of. So and Dorian used Twitter a bunch at this time, like actively interacting with fans.
Mm.
I totally got a Dorian Electra retweet at one point. And so there was a group that was the Church of Electra, because people started calling themselves electrolytes, like acolytes. And so it was the Church of
Mm.
Electra, and that was, it started as a, I wasn't here for this part, but it started as a group chat on Twitter that had Dorian in it. It had Dorian, it had Mood Killer, had some other people in it. And uh, the other Devon Price is still
Yeah, we're still hyping her. I also just noticed the stream info hadn't mapped over, so that's what I was just changing. Was the stream
Oh yeah,
title of
thank you. I
the old
totally
one?
forgot about that.
Oh yeah, oh
Um,
yeah. No worries.
but so yeah. Anyway, so I ended up following, like, there was this group of Dorian Stan Twitter that I like all followed me, and I followed all of them, even though I wasn't super invested in it. But I was just like, this is fun. Um, howdy, Callisto. Um,
Yeah. Hi.
but I followed all of the drama through that. We actually my spouse Megan actually got involved in the church's like inner circle, because we went to this Dorian. We have done a lot of volunteering, and we are like, there's so much cool queer energy in this space. Like, we want to get involved and try to like do good through this, because that's kind of what they were doing. They released a pin that was going, that like had the logo of the group of the Church of Electra on it, and it was going towards charity. They were interacting with Dorian. They had their email, and like they were like in a like actively talking. The Church of Electra was actually, and Megan was kind of like put in charge of this, um, because they have a lot of organizing experience. The they were gonna table at, like, find nonprofits, local nonprofits, to all of the North American Dorian Electra shows, um, and find local nonprofits to each show and have them come and table at like another merch table. It was going to be very cool. And then the pandemic happened, and that didn't happen. Um, and basically, it was just like normal stand shit. Like I'm trying to remember. I can't remember all of the different like. Do you remember any of the initial things?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, to get like fit in this timeline, like this fandom group was just really coming and getting organized just as this artist was really starting to get a lot more prominence. And like in the like 2 3 years that we were big Dorian fans, like it really transformed from concerts where you could get really easy access to like meeting the person at a meet and greet after to then suddenly being at a way larger venue, where that was not even remotely possible. Plus, the pandemic happened in between.
And that
And
actually hugely
so
increased their popularity because like Dorian was in hyperpop, in the hyperpop genre, which really blew up at that same time. They did a remix with 100 Gex, which is like huge now. Um,
and they're on Dawn of Chromatica, so that also was a boost.
this is on.
Um,
I'm not sure if you can see this.
oh, yes,
This is
that picture's so cute.
it really is. This is me and my spouse Megan and Dorian Electra, the first concert that we went to. This is where we met Devin. This is us in Mood Killer. This is
Oh my
this
God.
is the lineup from that night. Um,
And they were all so good. I still listen to so many of those artists so much. That
I
was a
know
great night.
they're so.
But and then so then oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that like they also did a lot of like virtual concerts during the pandemic, and so it was a
Right.
really active fandom. And I think this will also probably come up in a lot of the conversations of like there's this double-edged sword with like the fandom was calling itself a church, and that's a
Right.
reference to some of the imagery and like music that the artist has put out. So it's self-aware, but it's like there were a lot of young queer people with a lot of time on their hands who were isolated during the pandemic and are investing a lot of hope in this person who they see as a reflection of themselves. And then anytime this person let them down in any way, it was a huge explosion for I think for especially for people who were that young and that invested, like
Yeah.
it was kind of set up to be, you were gonna have to fall at some point with
Yeah.
that much wrapped up in it.
Um, there and so there's just so much little dumb drama. God, I wish I could
I'm
remember.
trying to remember the first one. Yeah. Like I mean, anytime something happened, people would go back to, we should have never trusted them because they used to be a libertarian.
Oh, that was a really good one. Was the first thing I can think of that was so ridiculous was they got really drunk at a virtual show. Um,
Yes.
and
Very early in the pandemic.
Yep, and they like actually it's so ridiculous because I felt like the fan community was so weird about the things they would get upset with because first of all Dorian didn't cancel their tour as fast as they should have, which sucked but was like weirdly a thing people didn't care about, um but like was a thing that sucked, and then they said they regretted it, and they clearly like were having a hard time during the pandemic, which like they're on top of their career like doing their first world tour, and then they like fucking quarantine happened. And so there was this one show where they got really drunk at the end of the show, and I don't even know if there were other people there physically with them, but they like leaked some of their own songs which they weren't supposed to do, and they were just got really trashed. And like I went to the show but I left before. Were you there?
I was gone by the end of it.
Yeah.
It was like a DJ set over Zoom, and yeah, very early in the pandemic. And from what I heard, and they were like very high energy and performing the shit out of it during their set. But I think they got drunk and cried, is
Yeah.
what I had heard.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know people were like criticizing them for
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
they were basically like in the group chat like being like their like kids watched the what like listen to your music and stuff, which was so weird because like their music was never like, I don't know, it's not like they were presenting themselves as like not
kid friendly.
right.
No,
It was very weird.
it's very sexual.
Right, like the whole
like,
thing. Like, I mean, look at these fucking pictures. Like, this is from the first video
like
that really popped off.
at that point, I think they would have already released "Give Great Thanks," which is a song about getting your face fucked, like
No, so
explicitly.
that was actually right before that, and they also,
Oh,
and
okay.
that was also a drama then too, where it was like, you know, people were upset about how sexual that song was, which is like, come the fuck on. Um, and that
It's
was
queer pop music. Come on.
yeah, it was really weird because none of them were like, they were all adults in these discussions too, like they were young adults. But anyway, it was very strange. And then so they did end up doing some things, and this kind of gets into what we want to talk about more broadly. That they did end up doing some things that, like, I don't know, are upsetting. Like, one of the big things that they did was they fucking Dorian, that is, like, worked with Grimes, which sucked when, you know, she was still dating Elon, which is like, I don't know, that was, it was lame. And then that one thing that really pissed me off, and I feel like nobody else cares about this, but Weston Allen, who's Dorian's partner since, like, back in the days, I think of, like, that video we watched even, and
Yeah, since college, yeah.
like, romantic and artistic partner. Like, he does a lot of the like directing for the music videos, and like, he did a video for RuPaul, which I thought sucked. but but anyway, it's like minor shit. But yeah, so I don't, it's this is like a good example of, like, the weird way in which they would come after Dorian for weird shit, but then not. Oh, the big one that we should talk about is that during fucking January 6th, do you remember this shit?
Was this that they like didn't post soon enough about January 6th? Like, was that what it was basically?
Yeah, literally that.
That's
like it wasn't just the Dorian stans, although they were a big part of it, because people were mad. People were mad at, like, everyone else in the hyperpop like music. Like, they were mad at 100 Gex, who fucking never posted anything. Like, Gex are off social media completely.
And I love that about them. I love
Yeah.
that they're not like capitalizing, because like there's a double-edged sword to this stuff. Not to like jump ahead of the conversation, but like when like that expectation of like an artist needs to always comment on everything and kind of stake their political ground. It also then is them like capitalizing off of political events and making it about themselves. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So like
absolutely.
I kind of like that Gex is like out of that for the most part, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And but they basically, a bunch of people on Twitter were mad that hyperpop artists, including Dorian Electra, were not condemning the fucking January 6th insurrection at the White House, which is fucking insane, because that was
the hyperpop community's silence on January 6th is deafening.
Like, why did any of these people need to fucking talk about that? Like,
and like also like they're not political figures. I think it's probably pretty obvious that all of these queer trans people occupy a certain position with regard to certain political issues. And, you know, is there a responsibility for white artists to be really outspoken about anti-blackness in music and things like that? Absolutely. You know, I'm fully on board with having those conversations, but they are not experts in anything at all relevant to that, and a lot of them would like have varying just like viewpoints about the legitimacy of the state and how we should even be talking about insurrection. And also they're not fucking experts in any of that in the first place, and they shouldn't be. That reminds me of another thing Dorian got soft canceled for, and that was posting a picture of themselves.
Just to finish that story, so they were yelling at everybody, and I remember fucking Umru, who, like, I'm sorry, people that don't know hyperpop have no idea who any of these people are. It really doesn't matter. But Umru fucking said something to one of them. I think he ended up deleting the tweet too. But they were I think it was, I didn't actually see it, but it was basically like, y'all are being fucking weird. Like, chill the fuck out. And they canceled him. And, like, for years after that, even after they admitted, like, people in the group admitted, like, that was weird. We didn't need to do that. And people were still mad at Umaru for saying that, even after they admitted, like, yeah, that was all weird. We didn't need to do that. And then, so eventually it came out that the reason fucking Dorian didn't need hyperpop QAnon, like, still unclear need for god damn it. But it came out the reason Dorian didn't fucking say anything is because they were in the hospital for fucking vocal polyps, which is like means you can't talk or sing, and they're a fucking vocalist. It was like so fucked. Like that, like if there I couldn't make up a better like, yeah, that's why I wasn't fucking saying anything, is because I had my own shit.
Yeah, this traumatic medical experience related to your lifeblood as an artist when it's already been completely like threatened by lockdown.
Right.
And so maybe you would just not be in the headspace of thinking that this like geopolitical event is about you at all. You know? It's yeah.
but
Yeah.
but go on, the thing you were gonna talk about.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry that I cut you off too. It's kind of hard to gauge like speech cues since the video is different. So I'm sorry that I'm not. I feel like my timing is weirder today. But another thing that Dorian got soft canceled for was posting a clip of themselves reading the book Capitalist Realism, which I guess some people took as being like this like pro-capitalist book, even though it's about the whole point of capitalist realism is by this communist who was like so depressed by the future of like fighting capitalism that he like ultimately killed himself. But he was like a very
Oh
outspoken
wow.
anti-capitalist in the book, and the book was about how capitalism just like eats everything, and like the idea it basically the book is about how it's easier to imagine an end to the world for many of us than to imagine an end to capitalism.
God.
So it's a very anti-capitalist book, and so it was annoying that people just like latched on it as proof that this person was still a capitalist uh, deep
literally
down, and
literally
criticizing
judging
for
a
it.
book by its cover. Not even its cover, just its name.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh
Um,
god.
so there's been all kinds of weird little things like that, and like I even think that's like, and I don't know, like the Grimes thing was totally pointless because they didn't even make music together.
Yeah.
They literally just posted pictures of themselves online, hanging out with that person, kind of to like thumb their nose at critics. I feel like a little bit.
Well, they actually did
Um,
do something together. It wasn't just photos. It was, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, they did like a thing on Twitch where, or like maybe Instagram Live or something.
huh.
Um, it,
Oh, that's right. Okay, you're
yeah,
right.
it
Yeah.
was like not a music thing, but it was like a thing, like a specific thing. It wasn't just them hanging out. They were specifically making content together, and it was like, you know, I don't. It was something. It was like a cooking thing or something. I don't know. I never actually watched it. It was so
It,
unnecessary.
it was some shit posty live streaming. That's right. Because I remember they had like giant spoons. It
Yes.
was very lol random humor kind of shit. And at a point when Grimes is just not, and as somebody who loves her music, it pains me to say it, just not artistically relevant at all, and might not ever make anything again. Like, because she's even said that basically at this point she's more invested in being a trad wife than making music. So,
Jesus Christ. Um, my thing that happened recently is I fucking love Caroline Polachek, and the new album just came out and it kicks ass, and Grimes is fucking on it, which is insane because like you said, like, she used to just date Elon Musk, which sucks really bad, but now she's like an active fascist, which is like, how, Caroline, why? Like, that just sucks so much.
oh my God. And Grimes was tweeting some weird shit the other day about how she needs an art enemy because she doesn't produce anything anymore. And she wants to make Caroline Polachek her art enemy, where they have this intense rivalry with each other. And it was just really weird and out of left field. And of course, everybody on the Grimes Like there's a Grimes critical subreddit that's just Grimes with a Z, SZ, and they were like, "Oh, this is just like very weird for her to be projecting her own insecurities on somebody she just worked with." But who knows?
That's
But
really weird.
I'm surprised that Grimes even delivered that vocal line or whatever it is on time because
Yeah,
she was supposed to be on Dawn of Chromatica, the Lady Gaga remix album too, and she just missed like the deadline like 7 times and just didn't. So then she doesn't have a track on it because she just is not producing music. She seems to just be like doing drugs and filming videos of herself with like laser swords, and then going to right wing magazine launch parties like Palladium and shit.
oh
So
my god. And I think the thing, and I think we're going to talk a lot about this. I have a lot of thoughts specifically that I'll save till we talk about J.K. Rowling. I don't know. I feel like that there, all consumption under capitalism is unethical, and that is accurate. I mean, even the fucking J.K. Rowling defend like Hogwarts blood libel game defenders were like, "Well, you're posting this on an iPhone," and it's like the fucked up thing is they're not wrong. Like they're the whole fucking system is totally fucked from its foundations, but that doesn't mean that I think that we do have to draw lines, and I don't think
mhm.
it's easy. It actually frustrates me when people act like the lines are easy, um, because they're not. I think that it is going to be different for every person. Um, I think, yeah, it's going to be different for every person, and but it doesn't mean that you get to just not engage. You don't get to just like do whatever. Like, yeah, shit sucks. It doesn't mean you get to like actively murder. Like, like, uh, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, the hardness is the point. I really like the way that you just said that because I think people use that there's no ethical consumption under capitalism as if it's like this hand washing like little like mantra that is like, blessed the table or something and meant that we don't need to think about it.
yeah,
And they use that either in the direction of therefore I should just enjoy, whatever makes me feel good, and is keeping me on that hedonic treadmill during the end of the world,
right,
kind of way. And then there's people that use it in this very nihilistic way where it's like, well, it leads to the same conclusion of like, well,
right,
you're just going to be miserable all the time. And the like braver and more moral thing is to be in the difficulty of figuring out how you personally are going to figure these things out and taking in information from other people and weighing it and developing your own discernment about, you know, what does it mean to engage with these things and how can you do it in a way that is up to your ethical standards and how can you be aware of how that media affects you in return.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that um that public figures have so much of a higher burden, and that because you know they are basically advertising. You know what I mean? Like, I, like I like, you've been a Grimes stan since I've known you. You've recognized the fucked upness, but you went to a show and you've gone to shows and stuff, and it's like that never bothered me. Like you were always like, I get that it's fucked up, but it's not at a level where it's like I feel like I need to really like boycott this person. And I think that I in the past where it was I think that that's always been like a very like, yeah. But at the same time, it's different when you're fucking Dorian Electra or Caroline Polachek, where it's like by like not especially in those instances where it's not even you're not even just like talking about this person, but also like actively giving them work by like putting them on putting them on your records and shit. It's like and validating those worldviews, and especially I'm sorry, but especially like big trans people. Like there are not a lot of trans voices, and I know it's not fair that trans people are famous trans people are expected to be, activists and set the standard for how people see trans people, but I'm sorry, you do, and that's a responsibility that, Devin, I know that I think you think a lot about in the amount of like notoriety you have, and it's a thing that like I would think about, like, if even just the amount, like, we have people in here, and I think a lot about, that what the shit that I'm saying. Like, I can't just be fucking Keffels and be an asshole. Like, that's a whole thing that we can
Right.
talk about if we have time, but like, you're expected to fucking you have to fucking, so it's like for somebody like Dorian Electra to, you know raise someone who is actively, dating one of the most fascist people in the world, or was, it matters. It's different
Yeah.
than an individual listening to their music on Spotify and giving them fucking 0.0002 cents per stream.
So if you could pirate it, do that
Yeah.
instead. It's always better. It's always fine to pirate something.
Yes.
Virtually, almost always.
Yeah.
But
No.
that.
It's for our Grimes has brought up Sophie's name again since the last I mentioned in chat.
No. Okay,
Oh,
hold on. Let me Google that.
that is bad.
Oh,
Yeah, if you don't know,
see.
if anyone in this chat has no idea any of these artists that we're talking about, I still love Dorian. I still think they're great. Look up their music videos. But if you take one,
Okay.
go ahead.
Oh, Grimes said Grammys didn't let her submit Sophie for an award nomination by the Recording Academy.
Okay.
Grimes claims she tried to nominate Sophie for a Grammy, but wasn't allowed.
That's a weird thing because Sophie hasn't released any music last year, right? Don't you have to
Yeah,
have released music?
yeah. This is something that she said in an Instagram comment on a Charlie XCX post.
We have a broken
Charlie XCX.
society. Why do we care about this?
We don't have a society. We don't have a society. Here's what happened. Charlie XCX posted that she was upset that she didn't get a nomination for Crash for a Grammy, and then Grimes was like, "The Grammys are so irrelevant. I stopped even clocking them in any capacity." Blah blah blah. And then I was, oh, and then they were, I was
Oh,
okay. I was on.
go
Oh,
on.
sorry.
No, you go on.
I stopped even clocking them in any capacity when I was on the producer of the year board, and they quite literally would not allow me to nominate anyone who wasn't on a prefabricated list that was exceptionally boring. I was one of 3 women and the only person under 40. I tried to nominate Sophie and was told that wasn't allowed. So I don't know when this would have been,
Yeah.
supposedly.
It's for art. It just
But
seems like an attempt to change what comes up when you Google Sophie Grimes. Oof. That is the most cynical take on that I absolutely could see being true. That, especially given the shit that she does lately. I don't know if I believe she's smart enough to think that way though.
yeah, I mean, in the Instagram comments too. But then again, you're leaving the comment on Charlie XCX, who has a pretty large
Yeah.
platform.
It does feel like I mean, that's true. She does have PR people that would be smart enough to think that.
Yeah, though she's often posted about her PR people hating her and being like, stop, please don't, just don't even, we're not even gonna tell you to post about something because we just don't. Just please, no. But yeah.
Is it time? Is it time for the Grimes report?
Yeah, let's go into the full Grimes report. Fuck it.
Oh no. My tech is all fucked up today.
I hear the sound,
Okay,
but I
hold
don't
on.
see it.
Okay. We're gonna make sure that this works for future things
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I guess since it was built for this moment.
There we go.
Oh yes, here we go. Welcome to the Grimes Report,
What the fuck
everyone.
has she done now?
She's always doing the most. She's not making music, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that fucking much. So, so I'll do this as quickly as possible. I'll just do a kind of a quick tour of some of Grimes's controversies over the years, highlighting mostly the Azealia Banks shit because that's the most fun fucking one,
before
up
you
through the present day.
before you start, how did you get into Grimes? Let's just like frame this from your own fandom.
Yeah, I think I was not actually like a, oh, I was into it from the jump. I loved Oblivion, blah blah blah. No, I was not. I saw some of the original like hand drawn, and the art was like by her back then at the time, like Grimes album art on like Tumblr, and I was like, this is ugly and yucky to me. I don't like this. I'm not gonna listen to this. that's that's where my brain was at the time. Now I like that art style, but it was frightening to me. That like pre hyper pop grimy, unreadable, scrawled shit.
Do you know
I
what
was like,
what
that's
the
too.
do you know what that's from? Can I how could I find that picture?
Let me see. Early Grimes art. It's like the cover for like Oblivion and or Visions, I mean, and like Getty Primes. The Getty Primes art, album art in particular, I was like, that's yucky. I'm scared.
Eddie Prime's album
Getty
art.
Primes, Geidi.
Oh yeah. This looks like
I mean, it's
it looks like scary stories to tell in the dark almost or something.
Yeah, yeah, but add a floral crown because of course it was the early 2010s, so everything had a fucking floral crown, Tumblr shit. So I didn't
Mhm.
listen to her shit for a while until Art Angels, which was probably her most like pop accessible record. And I saw the music video for Butterfly, where she and Hana, who still does like DJ streams here on Twitch, who I actually recommend, it is great. Um, that music video, Grimes is dressed in this very androgynous kind of princely way, just like hopping around on some plinths and ruins and shit. And I was like, gender, love it.
Yeah.
Um, and she also had a song on that same album that also had a very gender video, "Kill V Name," which is about like if Michael Corleone was a vampire girl, but like I don't know. So there was a lot going on in that track, and so I really liked all of that shit and the gender fuckery and the visuals, and it was like poppy but with like a little edge to it, and so I got really into it. Faintboy69 says I saw Grimes on her first tour, and during her last song, she accidentally kicked a plug and turned off the entire sound setup. She proceeded to chuck the microphone and run off the stage. Seems emblematic now. That Here's another interesting thing about Grimes. She has very rarely performed live. I've never seen her at a concert. I'm sure I never will. Um,
Oh, I
and
thought you
she probably
saw
never
her.
will.
Who did you
No, no. Um, yeah, I don't know who it would have been that we were talking about. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I've never seen her. And almost every time she's performed at a festival, she's not been able to play the piano. She's not been able to sing, which is fine because her vocals are changed, but she can't like demonstrate any of the skills that are in the production of the music. And there's kind of a conspiracy theory in the fandom now that because we do know she uses non-disclosure agreements out the ass. She made Poppy, the music artist Poppy, sign it one, and they had a bunch of issues. She makes everybody who any touches any of her work sign an NDA. Some people now believe that she actually can't produce and has been like stealing people's work all this time. But I can neither confirm nor deny that, but she definitely can't perform live by any account or mix
I'm
at the DJ
curious if
table.
there more dirt to that. Is there like specific? Because I'm very curious if there's like is there any receipts to that other than the NDA stuff, or do you know? Is there like this song actually was on this like sound like? Do you know any of the details for that?
There's there's one sound that's been kind of pulled up recently on the Grimes critical subreddit that is really similar to another artist's work, and so people think it might have been lifted, but I don't know enough to weigh in on that. And there have been a few instances where people have brought up photo shoots. Like there's a photo shoot that a woman did of herself in a man in a giant like knight costume that is very similar to the player of games music video visuals. So she's been accused of like thieving artistic influences, and musical influences. And the way the shit went down with her collab with Poppy was basically that Poppy tried to they both were gonna have tracks on each other's albums, and then like Grimes like killed the project in the middle of the process, and then still released the track, but with Hana doing the vocals instead of Poppy, and so then
Oh
Poppy didn't
God.
get any credit. Yeah, basically just patched someone in new to do the vocals, for that part, without any credit to Poppy, whereas Poppy just released her song with Grimes still on it and gave credit to Grimes. So you know. Um, the Argyle. I like that. It's like a less ableist celebrity can't read rumor. Yes, Leah Michelle can't read. Grimes can't mix.
I don't understand where that came from. What was the deal? Do you know? I didn't under. Was that it? Was there no? So was it just that and no context?
There's no evidence that she can read. And to this day, when she weighs in on it, Leah Michelle is like, I find it so rude that people would say such things about me. But she won't say I can read or show herself reading. I'm sure it's just one of those silly things that because her reaction is so weird, it makes it seem more true. But it's
Right.
very, I don't know. But you're right. You're right. The Argyle. It does have ableist implications. I think it's because she's like a very
Right.
unlikable person in other ways, which is kind of maybe the same thing going on here with Grimes, right? Like we
Yeah.
can point to the things that we know Grimes has done wrong without having this conspiracy, but anybody like it is has been very well known in the industry that she really makes people sign NDAs out the ass. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, or doesn't prove anything.
And
And Artistic Bum, yeah, it wasn't that. It was We Appreciate Power. Was gonna have Poppy on it originally. Yeah.
um and also we should also mention some of the weird like not some of the weird shit like she lived. I'm trying to remember. She lived on a boat and only ate
She only ate spaghetti
spaghetti.
for a year and a half, and her hair fell out. But again, like and we can have this conversation. She's talked about thinking she's autistic. Elon
Right.
Musk is autistic. She's almost certainly autistic. That could be a texture thing.
Right.
Autistic people suck too. That's what's so beautiful about us. We're humans. Um,
Right.
if I can be the face of anything, I want to be the face of the fact that autistic people can suck too, and that we're not baby angels from heaven. Um, but anyway, so that's how I got into her, was around the Art Angels phase. But before that, like probably the first thing that she was really publicly criticized for was around the time of the Oblivion music video, I think it is, where she has a bindi on her forehead, and was
Normal
accused of
white woman.
appropriating. Well, okay, so this one is actually, and I talked to some Indian grime stands, obviously biased, right, about this, but
Oh.
up with is Indian. She's participated in that culture. She's been to lots of like Indian weddings or whatever. Like it's where that would be more normal to wear. But doing it as an aesthetic in your music video is still really different from that, right? Even if it is a culture that you have participated in a more genuine way as somebody related to it, that's still very different from as a white woman having it on your forehead in
Right.
a music video. And she did also do dreads in one music video, I believe, as well, or like tracks. She had like tracks, like for a weave that you would not, in a way that you would not have them with white people hair, right? So
Right.
pretty clearly appropriate there. Um, those things both made the rounds thanks to the Tumblr blog Your Fave is Problematic. That's a whole other conversation
Yeah.
with its own rich legacy. But those were both instances where Grimes actually really quickly came forward. Grimes was a Tumblr girl at that point too, and she said, I've heard the criticism on this. I understand what people are saying, and I won't do it again, and I'm sorry. So that was something that I always like, as somebody who got into her a little bit later on after that had happened, I liked that. It was like, okay, you did this thing that was not a good look. You apologized for it. It was pretty simple and straightforward, and then you stopped doing it. Fine, great.
Yeah, that's what we
Um,
want. Like I think, I think, and again, this is touching on one of the like more overarching things. And I've talked about, like, I love to talk about the McElroys, how they like, they're not always perfect, but they were like started really shitty. I've told this story before on the stream where it's like they started being like from a really shitty place, and they learned and grew, and now, some weird random drama we don't need to get into aside, they like, they're very upstanding for like a bunch of cishet white boys from fucking West Virginia, and like that's all you need to do is like, you're gonna fuck up, like, just listen to the people that it affects and apologize, and like actually apologize and actually change what you do, and that's, you're great.
mhm.
That's all we want.
And there is a lot of value in showing your learning. Like that is better than being perfect, actually, because that's a skill set that everybody has to like learn and have modeled for them.
Right.
Um, that's just how it goes. You're not like that's being perfect is not the ideal here, and knowing everything. And these things also don't always have a clear cut, line, like especially conversations about appropriation, exactly where to draw the line, and how to make sense of it is actually sometimes a pretty complicated thing, having to do with a lot of different cultures, histories, and attitudes towards things that are important to them. But yeah, so that was all fine. Um, and for a long time, before getting with Elon Musk, Grimes had, anti-imperialist in her Twitter bio. She had your standard kind of leftist alt girl kind of cultural like signifiers about her, right? Um, you know, a Dorian Electra of her era in a lot of ways, in that she like had certain aesthetics that were kind of queer and alternative, and people would project certain expectations onto that, and she would also kind of more or less reinforce that in how she in the interviews that she gave and the kind of things that she talked about. That Calista said, my favorite is when they do the opposite and double down on being shitty. That's the thing. That's like that's
Yeah.
what tells you something about someone's where they are.
Yep.
I was gonna say who they are, but I think from the Grimes story we can see that sometimes somebody could do the right thing and then go on a completely bullshit path later
Yep.
on. So I'll jump ahead to that. So then Grimes at some point, it was actually interestingly Grimes's ex-boyfriend who made a tweet joke tagging Grimes about a pun on Roko's basilisk, which is this AI hypothetical concept. Um, and the joke was Rococo basilisk, so like the artistic style Rococo. And then 2 years later, after Grimes had broken up with this dude, Elon Musk also tweeted something, or was going to tweet a funny joke he thought he had made up about Rococo's basilisk. But he searched it first and he found Grimes, in the thread. And so then he slid into her DMs and was like, hello.
And I, this is a tangent, but thinking about, because I've heard this for a long time, it's crazy to me that like Elon Musk's whole thing on Twitter is that he steals jokes. Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
literally his whole fucking thing, is like he finds memes and like cuts off the like, doesn't, shares them without attribution, will remove attribution from them. Like literally there are so many times where he'll like a meme and then like download it and like not quote tweet it or tweet it or like reblog it, but just like literally download it and re-upload it, and he's been called out on that. and
Mm-hmm.
and like, because sometimes it's like art too, not just memes, and he's like, you shouldn't need to on the internet. He's just like, of all the ways in which he's shitty, this is like one of the like a fairly low stakes one, but also the most like one of the more infuriating ways in which he's shitty. So like, I'm like hearing this
Of
anecdote
course, that's how
now.
this started.
Yeah, and I'm like, actually, he, because I'm sure he said it like, oh, I was gonna like see if anyone had made that joke and not make it, but probably what he was doing was seeing if anybody had made that joke to steal it, like to see if there was someone had made a meme to just steal.
You're right. Yeah, so that he could lift a picture and post it.
Oh
Yeah,
my
but then he
god.
noticed that like some alt girl was making this joke, and he was like, "I'm gonna slide in." Like, okay, great.
That's
Uh,
oh
um, and he can't post, as the anime sickos have frequently said. That man cannot post. He's not funny. He beats a dead horse that's been like dead for a long time and is just
yeah.
rotting, and he's got no swag. Um,
He is the most crying, laughing man. He's the most I'm not
who's
mad man.
infuriated. Yes,
Yeah.
he's like, "Who put this piss in my pants? It wasn't me."
I didn't pay
That's the kind of
$44
person he
billion
is.
to put this piss in my pants. I'm a smart man who invented rocket ships. Oh,
Yes. So anyway, they get to flirting, and then he invites her to the Met Gala, and that was the beginning of the end. And in fact, I had a vigil
that was how they
on
started?
Instagram. Yeah, that was like one of that was their first date. That he took her to the Met Gala. She's wearing a Tesla choker,
Oh, God.
and right from the jump, I was very dismayed because this did not blend with my sense of her, and it was actually, kind of a rotten egg moment too, because she had recently been posting about how like she had some photo shoot, and she was like, "This is the last time you'll ever see me wear a dress again. This is not me. This doesn't feel right with like who I am, and I think I might be non-binary, blah blah blah." And then like she shows up to the Met Gala, and like once she ends up being with Elon, she's wearing a dress, and she gets on the path of Elon's partners, which is he basically requires them to be blonde, and you can tell his mood. People at Tesla say based on how light his wife's hair color is at the time, or partner's hair color is at the time. This was also said of Justine Musk, his first wife, who has written
Oh.
a great essay on what being with him was like. Um, and so, that was immediately dismaying to me and to all of Grimes's fans. And so, people started critiquing her for that right away. I had a little vigil on Instagram stories where I was like burning, like fucking burning incense and shit.
I didn't
It looked
realize
like a funeral.
uh, I didn't realize that she straight up said she thought she was non-binary.
Yeah, yeah. She was like on that path, or who knows? Because she'll, these days she'll say just about fucking anything, and who knows what she'll
Right.
say the next day.
Right.
So make of it what you will. But she was like exploring that stuff, and her style again had always been very androgynous. The lyrical content had often been very like gender fucky, and so I have always interpreted it as kind of this moment. I know what you are, Grunt. And so for a long time, I had this delusion in my mind. I'm like, I could still save her. Like, if she just takes the trans pill, then she'll leave this douchebag behind. Um, Pretty quickly after they get together, they bond a lot over talking about AI and how basically they believe AI is going to take over the world and there's no fighting it. And that's when she releases the song We Appreciate Power, which, when you look back on it, is a pretty fascist song. You could tell yourself back then that it was tongue in cheek and kind of making fun of people criticizing her for being with Elon, and talking about like being like turned on by that power or something like that. But looking at it now, it's definitely just some fucking fascists taking Nietzsche will to power shit and making it their shit, even though that's not like originally what it was. Um,
Yeah,
so that
I haven't listened to a lot of Grimes. I to I haven't I learned about Grimes after she was already dating Elon, basically. Like, I had heard of her, but I never took the time to get to like listen to her. And after that, I was like, I just didn't, I've liked what I've heard, but I haven't taken the time to like listen to her music because she's not a bad person. So like, um,
yeah. And she peaked at Art Angels. Everything since then. I mean, I really like Miss Anthropocene, but the themes, when you look at it now, it's like, oh no, this was not tongue in cheek. Okay,
yeah, I
you.
was gonna read some of the lyrics to "We Appreciate Power." It's yeah, "We appreciate power" is the and what will it take to make you capitulate? Elevate the human race, putting makeup on my face. Uh, God's creation so misunderstood. Pray to the divinity, the keeper of the key. Uh, when will the state agree to cooperate? Pledge allegiance to the world's most powerful computer. Uh,
So
AI will reward us
stupid.
when it rains. Yeah, it's very like Yeah, the like it's
She's like a techno fascist, basically.
yeah.
That like the technology will solve all of our problems, and then, and she's been very open about this, because one of her songs on this Anthropocene is about this. Elon convinced her to get pregnant. We now know he has a real thing for spreading his super genius genes by impregnating as many women as possible, including one of his underlings at work. And she and Grimes get into fights on Twitter a lot, actually. Um,
God.
but one of her songs on Miss Anthropocene, "So Heavy That I Fell to the Earth," she has said is about when you decide or get convinced to become pregnant and give up all of that to someone. Yeah. So again, when I heard that, I literally posted on Instagram stories back at the time that I was going to kill Elon Musk. Back then, you could say that on Twitter.
uh, oh, hey, we're on a
And
we're on a different billionaire's website, so
yes, and I'm just quoting myself in the past, saying something that I'm not allowed to say.
you know,
Just as you're.
yeah. We you're not allowed to make specific threats of violence on the internet. That is generally against the terms of service of most websites. For example, Elon Musk should be killed because it would be good for humanity is a thing that you cannot say on Twitch,
Just so
probably.
everyone knows, as
Right.
as a public service announcement. Um,
That
yeah.
is among the things that are against the terms of service on this website.
Yes, and we all just want to have everybody on the same page with that. um, so yeah, and then right around then is when the real good shit happened, which was the Azealia Banks, free Azealia Banks, weed 420, etc. saga.
Yeah, I don't
This is the shit.
I don't I sort of I feel like I sort of knew about it at the time, but I don't remember anything about this. So,
Okay.
I'm
I have a
excited.
full timeline. I've written a Medium piece about it in the past. There
Oh,
that
that's
is.
right. Yeah.
If anybody wants to read the full timeline, this was an amazing saga, and in my mind, Azealia Banks, just for this alone, can do no wrong, or will always be redeemable. Um, so Grimes hits up Azealia Banks, the Mermaid Queen, the 212, and said, "Do you want to collaborate on a track?" Azealia Banks says, "Sure." Um, Secretly, Azealia Banks later reveals that she said yes because she wanted to get Elon to invest in her anal bleaching soap company, Bussy Boy.
Oh man.
Or I'm sorry, it's called Cheapy XO, but Bussy Boy is her most popular selling item.
Okay,
Cheapy
all right. You
XO.
get that right. You gotta. Yeah, I don't. Unreliable
Oh,
narrator.
I had to lead with the juiciest tidbit. It's Cheapy XO, but the Bussy Boys soap, she would sell them at her concerts. She would ship them off of her site. She still sells them now, but sometimes if you order it, just never comes in the mail because she does it all by herself. And, she's a bipolar baddie, and we stand. Shit happens. But so Azealia says yes. Grimes says, "Great, I'm gonna fly you out to meet me up at Elon's mansion, and we're gonna talk." Um, Azealia Banks shows up. Grimes isn't there. Elon isn't there. She finds herself stumbling around a seemingly empty house, waiting for either of these two people to arrive.
Oh, that's right.
Um, oh, and said, yes, Azealia has said many homophobic things. Well, let me put a pin in that. Yes, she has definitely said that. She said because she makes music for the gays, she can say anything. And she's bi, but again, that's not. She's not. Yeah. Okay. Uh,
We're gonna get into that
um,
stuff in a second.
to me, Azealia Banks is like the Vegeta. She came here to destroy the Earth, but now she's our friend, who we hang out with, because we have an enemy in common who is much larger, and she's cool. We love it. We love some of the some of the things she says. It's adorable. So she's stumbling around and she's posting a live play-by-play of this on Instagram stories. Azealia Banks is the inventor of like posting so many Instagram stories that it's just like little imparsable dots on the top of the screen. She's trying to find food. She's trying to find a place to charge her phone. She's literally like that meme where you're sleeping over at a friend's house and they don't give you a blanket and you have to put a rug over yourself.
But in horrible, I can't imagine what Elon Musk's house looks like, but I imagine it's minimalist billionaire hellscape.
Well, sadly, I do have other details about that because Grimes has said in interviews that Elon's mattress is on the floor and it's rotting. Um, and this is a man she loves, you know. This is in the same interview where she's like, even though we've broken up, I'm still committed to the mission of this man, you know. Eventually, Elon shows up, high out of his mind, shambling around. Grimes gave him some kind of drug. I don't know if it was like ecstasy or something. And so Azealia is just having to kind of like deal with this, and mostly avoid it by just like shutting herself in a separate room. Elon, at this same time, he's really high. Grimes has introduced him to weed, and we have text messages testifying to all this. Elon's super into weed now because of Grimes, and so he decides to set Tesla's stock price at 420 while this is happening, while Azealia Banks is there.
Wait, that happened at the same time?
Yes, and that's why Elon was under investigation by the Federal Trade Commission for setting his stock price at 420 artificially, rounding it up from like 419 or something like that, because Azealia was very open about the fact and shared texts from Grimes attesting to the fact that Elon chose the number as a meme.
And of course, even though that's super illegal and like regardless of the intent is like that is the kind of shit that is like, you know, that's the kind of shit that's like stock manipulation. Like that's the shit that the entire weight of the law should come down on you for, regardless of if it was as a mean joke. And it's like, you know, I don't know exactly how that ended up, but you know, he's still a fucking billionaire. Like, you know,
I mean, yeah, Martha Stewart went to prison for insider trading. You know what I mean? Like he did something that was even on a much grander level because it affected anybody who touched those stocks, or participated in the market the day that they went public, like this huge tech company going public. And he, you know, I think he had to pay a fine.
Yeah.
And then he was ousted from Tesla's like board of directors for doing that. So, you know, but also because of everything about him.
Also because of who he is as a person.
Yes. And here's some space knowledge. That Callisto, SpaceX tried launching a rocket with that number combo, Starship 20 and Super Heavy Booster 4. Yes. At the same time as well, Elon Musk tweeted, coming soon to the Tesla store, Tesla knee-high socks with a pocket for lip liner and cards. Now, I'm not a big knee-high sock wearer. I think others here might be more so. But I don't think anybody needs knee-high socks with a pocket for cards and a lip liner. I don't think they would stay up.
Yeah. It's like if you're, I mean, if you're knee-high socks, wait, knee-high socks?
Or thigh-high socks.
See, that would make more sense, but I don't actually believe that he, you know what I mean?
He doesn't know the difference.
Right, exactly.
Sure. He doesn't know where the knee or the thigh is. Thigh-high socks with pocket for liners and cards.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Fine. Oh my god. Like, I guess that could be fine. I don't know why those are the things you need, but, you know.
They are very warm. Oh, yeah. And I didn't know about him defrauding people from a solar company, but I know he's definitely failed to deliver on basically everything ever.
Yeah.
So all of these things happen. Azealia Banks eventually leaves after like 3 days of this.
That's so, and the commitment to the bit is insane. Like, you didn't have anything else to do. You're just like, I am staying here until they make me leave to fight, to just for the drama. Like, God, I don't even care.
Have you seen the Alone in the VIP meme? Where it's just someone just like sitting with sunglasses and their hands folded.
Oh, I think so.
Candy Muse.
Let me bring that up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is this?
Alone in VIP. That's Azealia waiting for Grimes to show up.
Oh my god.
And Azealia has never said outright that she was like propositioned, but that she got the vibe that they were really just trying to have a threesome with her, but that it failed because they were all so high that they couldn't exist in any way. Um, so then they get to texting each other, and this is where I'll drop a link in the chat because it's so, oh my god, it's so funny because you have two of the most horrible people saying the most horrible shit to each other with no self-control whatsoever about this situation. It's so good. There, I mean, trigger warning for fat phobia, body shaming, like all kinds of weird shit, drug talk. Um, oh, also prior to this going down, Grimes told Azealia that she thought her and Azealia should get into a pregnancy pact together and both get pregnant at the same time to deepen their friendship. And Azealia was like, "You're on too many drugs to do this."
Yeah. Okay. Yes, I remember.
Okay, here we
this
go.
shit. Your
so
drug
good.
dealer
It's
knows.
So...
Heard you got. Okay, wait. So it's Grimes. Your drug dealer knows. Azalea. Heard you got dumped, sis. Congratulations, you win.
Wait, should we do it at... Wait,
Oh!
I was going to say we'd do a reading, but some of them, they do... What? Because they do call each other fat and stuff like that, so I don't know if that's, like, fucked up for us to be, like, perform reading it, but otherwise I would say we should voice act this bullshit.
It's... Yeah, oh, man. Let's... Fuck it.
Okay. Alright, you be... Who do you want to be?
I feel like you need to be Grimes because you're so spiritually connected.
Then, yeah, and then I'll be the one saying probably the worst shit, so that's good. All right. Your drug dealer knows.
Heard you got dumped, sis.
Congratulations, you win.
So stop being a sore loser and stop spamming me, weirdo. You're gonna get in trouble, sis.
Narc. Narc. Narc.
You don't even have...
At 4:10 a.m.
Yeah! You don't even have bone marrow, sis, lol. Or a decent pair of lips.
At least I'm not fat.
Or hips, or ass, or tits. And you smell like a roll of nickels. You look like a little boy. You're not enough woman for a man like that, sis. Like Elon Musk? You keep trying to provoke Paul. You're going to get Elon in more trouble. I suggest you cool it. Elon is way out of your league, sis. Is she trying to fuck Elon? Is she trying to get on that?
She's actually... Azealia has believed that Elon has, like, shut down her website through DDoS attacks, but then she'll be like, "That's so sexy, Elon. Let's fuck."
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh.
And so then again, Grimes not having anywhere near the talent for insults that Azealia has, saying go to the buffet.
Yeah.
And then Azealia.
You need an IV in its hand. So I love fucking, and then like Grimes is like, sorry, shouldn't have said that. Didn't mean to make you feel bad.
Right. It's like, obviously you're the one losing here. But it keeps, like, Azealia ends this again like an anime supervillain. So let's see the next couple ones.
Sweet narc. Okay, you brittle-boned method.
Narc. But no, did you see the thing that, like, I'm innately superior to you? Azalea's one reply. You could... Don't worry, darling. Back down exactly the way I knew you would. Don't hurt yourself, babe. You're a basic white woman. I am by nature superior to you, dear. You could never know.
Oh my god. Oh. Poetry, yeah.
So, sweet narc dreams. Yeah. So this shit was like, wow, okay, anything I could have projected onto this person need a woman to talk to me like that. Yeah, yeah. Azalea's read is sexy. Like it's so like powerful, and Grimes is so weak and just one note,
You smell
just
like a roll
pathetic.
of pennies.
You could never hurt my feelings, darling. I'm by nature superior to you. So good.
Oh, mansies.
Oh my god, I'm sorry to keep info dumping on this. Sterner Kyer asked, is there smut fic of this? Guess what happened after this rolled out? On Sheepy XO, Azealia Banks' soap company, she announced the Elon Musk Grimes fanfic competition, where she said she would pay $1,000 to whoever wrote the best fan fictionalized rendition of this encounter. Um, did I submit something? Yes. Did she ever name a winner? No.
Oh, we stand a unput together queen. Oh my fucking god.
Oh,
We
Azealia
gotta
has a
read
fantasy.
that. I gotta, do you have it? I feel like we need to read that.
Oh God. Oh man. It's definitely in like a Google Drive folder.
Does this need to,
Oh my God.
be our first, our first subscriber bonus? You get to read the fan fiction.
I'll have to look for it. Why aren't you posting that? Tell me we need to read it. Oh my God. If you need an Elon VA, hit me up. No.
Can you do an
Come on,
Elon
son.
impression?
No.
Oh.
No. I don't want I don't want anyone to have to become the conduit for that.
Oh god. We'll think about it.
Yes, I'll see if I can find it. Everybody else has otherwise read my short story about Grimes transing. My AAU
That's really
where none of
good.
this happened.
That's really good.
Yeah, I was going through it.
um so yeah. So is there more pre the current arc or
Well, after that, then it was just this really long tail of fizzling of her like posting really cringe videos of like herself with like badly done makeup and like just really badass like like MIDI ass beat being like everything they hate is everything I love like Grimes or Elon apology shit. Really painful to watch. Um, and just like saying things about like I wish people would stop holding me responsible for my boyfriend, which women do get criticized in this vein more. I think that's true. I think we criticize women for their male partners way more than the opposite direction if like there's a problematic like if a guy's dating a problematic woman. Like I can't think of an example where like a guy came under fire on that level. Sure.
yeah.
But you know, this man does suck and you are like white knighting for him on your Twitter all the time.
I think
So
if there was ever a like, and again, this is like that thing where it's like, I think that everybody has to draw their lines differently, and this is not a simple thing where it's like if your boyfriend does this and you don't break up with them, you're evil. Like there's it's complicated and there's so many different layers to it, but I don't think there are very many more people that are more evil than Elon Musk. Like
right.
billionaire, like not just Elon Musk, but that class of billionaires, like him and Jeff Bezos and fuck it, I don't care, fucking Bill Gates too. Like same thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
they are all evil on a existential level for humanity. Oh yeah, that's right. I was gonna just unrelated to anything. I was gonna put something. I don't know if you can see that, Devin. Do you know what that
Is
is?
this the Shinzo Abe killing machine?
We're just gonna have this over here for no reason.
Draw your own conclusions about that. This would be a very bad, naughty thing to make or direct at anyone.
But like, yeah, I don't think that there's very many worse people. Like him and Trump, and like Jeff
Mm-hmm.
Bezos, are like, you know, the like, there's not a worse boyfriend you could have. Like,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that criticism is fair to bring up, like when like when people critique Kim Petras for working with Dr. Luke, right? Like,
yeah,
that makes me feel uncomfortable because he victimized artists he was working with. So I'm more just concerned that
yeah.
something would happen to her or is happening to her more than I'm gonna try to cancel her for that. You know what I mean? That's how I feel for personally. Or like when somebody's dating an abuser, it's like, well,
Yeah.
they might be, like, and that actually is relevant to the artist Poppy, who used to be criticized for dating someone who then, surprise, surprise, was very abusive to her too, just like to his previous partners. So,
Is that what the fuck is his name?
oh my God, yeah. Why am I blanking on his name?
There's a whole song about him, right?
Oh yeah, she has whole Titanic Sinclair. Jesus
Oh,
God, that man is a real
no,
piece of shit.
that's not who I was thinking of. I was thinking of who was dating fuck Shia
Are
LaBeouf.
you thinking about Megan?
I was thinking of Shia LaBeouf.
Oh, who dated FKA
That's
Twigs?
who I was thinking of. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Who, yeah, he's a problem. Um, but yeah. Titanic Sinclair basically lifted his whole other girlfriend, Mars Argo's artistic persona, and then put it on his then current girlfriend, Poppy, and abused her and like didn't let her eat and all this fucked up shit. And Poppy was criticized for being complicit in stealing this artist's identity. Fair enough. But then, when she got away from him and was like, listen, this guy's been abusing me and here's all the like receipts on that, it was like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you know, that changes things.
It,
Girlfriend transformation evil. Yeah, exactly.
this is we do not, I don't remember enough of this to go in depth, and also we have too many things to talk about in depth. But do you remember that streamer that this happened within a couple months ago? Let's see if I can quickly Google some things so I can get some names, because I'm terrible with names. But basically there was this streamer, and she was like, forgive me for the slur basically, but she was kind of like a titty streamer, right? Like she was the, she did streams on Twitch where she didn't wear a lot of clothes and did like pool streams and shit like that. Um, and she was a really big one. And then she came out and was like, I, uh, um, Amaranth sounds right.
Yeah,
And she was
yeah, and
basically
people were
like,
mad that she was in a relationship.
well, yeah. So she came out as being in a relationship, and people were mad at that. When the reason she came out as being in a relationship is she was like, yeah, because he's abusing me and making me continue doing this stuff when I don't necessarily want to. Like, he is forcing me to perform all of these hours and do all of this stuff. Like, he is micromanaging my career, and as part of his larger, really, really nasty abuse. And there were people who fucking came out of that like, I can't believe you lied about not having a partner, which is an insane thing. Even if he wasn't abusive and there wasn't all this other shit, it's totally insane. Like, that's a whole fucking discussion of like weird shit where like popular women aren't allowed to have a, like, people will be mad at them for like having a partner because it's like, I thought I was going to be able to fuck you. I gave you all, especially Twitch streamers where it's like, I gave you all this money under the impression that you were single, which is fucking nuts. That's so insane. But on
Mm-hmm.
top of that, literally she's saying I'm being abused, and people were still making that argument, which is like, really goes to show you how much of this stuff is like misogyny. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
yes, she was the one who Bread Hummus. She was the one that recorded him calling her and berating her on stream. It was either a call or a voicemail. Yeah, really fucked up. I hope she's doing better because I have not followed up on that. But uh, it really goes to show, and I think that that's a thing that I've been meaning to say about both Dorian Electra and Grimes, is it's like this weird thing where like every time anything would happen with Dorian Electra, people would be, and we kind of alluded to it, people would be like, you know, I never should have trusted them. I always thought that they were shitty. And it's like, no, actually you're just being transphobic and you know, uh it's like uh misogynistic against a femme person, and like how that relates to, there's a word for bigotry
Like,
against
yeah.
non-binary people specifically, right?
Oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah, yeah, it's so rare that I hear it, but
I know there's a
yeah,
word, but anyway, like it's so clearly like people like, you know, there's this, the whole thing about the way that like, you know, non-binary people are expected to perform androgyny, you know, at the minimum, and Dorian Electra is somebody who like is very much a femme, like despite, you know, being and doesn't conform to that expectation. And it was so clearly like anytime anything happened, that's was a huge basis of the backlash, no matter whether it was a reasonable thing to be upset about or not. And that's, it also feels like a lot of the case with Grimes. You know, it felt like people would like, especially when she was dating Elon Musk, like it felt like so much of the, she was such a punchline among people that didn't know anything about her, just, and it felt like a, you know, it felt like a, like there absolutely was this misogynistic bent to a lot of that. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And as funny as reading Azealia Banks's insults are,
Yeah.
like that's what kind of a lot of people were doing. Like when Dorian Electra gets critiqued, when Grimes gets critiqued, when ContraPoints gets critiqued,
Yep.
when Lindsay Ellis gets critiqued.
Yep.
Often, like the root issue is something that's like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about its impact and what it means. But then people go into comments on the person's appearance, holding the person responsible for like people that they're associated with in some way or another. Which I think in Dorian's case, like that's very different. Like critiquing Dorian for working with certain artists or having certain friends versus, you know, like you said with Grimes, it's kind of like at some point you're so complicit in somebody's machine that it's like, of course you're going to critique that, right?
Right.
Um, but the way that we go about it as a culture and who we choose to critique and how we do it, you know, the way Grimes gets critiqued is very different from how Elon gets critiqued for the exact same things. I think we can
Yeah.
say pretty fairly, even if they both suck ass and you know are complicit in horrible things. So
This
yeah,
is kind of different, but I just love this fucking quote because, and it's funny because, like, you know, Lady Gaga, I don't know a lot about. You know, Lady Gaga tried to have Grimes on that fucking Dawn of Chromatica remix, and like, and also this actually brings up a really good point of like, with this stuff, it's like, how much do these people know? Like,
oh yeah,
because it's like Lady Gaga, I wouldn't like. She's like, how old is she? She's not old, but like, I don't believe she's not online. Like, I don't believe she knows fucking shit about Grimes. Like, you know,
right.
and it's like,
I know. Yeah, she's 2 years older than me, so she's 36. Yeah,
oh, really? I thought I don't know. She's just been around since she was like 17, so it
very young.
um
Yeah,
but anyway, like, you know, I think that's a huge thing too, where it's like people get criticized for like, you know, working with people, and it's like, I'm sorry that I wasn't in the on like on Twitter enough to see that you canceled this person about this thing. And you know, it's like, but um just to back up about the way that like women and men get criticized differently. Let's see if I can find this video of Lady Gaga. um
artistic bum. I confess I am lost in the age of the social. Yep, yeah, she said it herself, but she doesn't know how to post. Lady Gaga.
um
Oh, yeah, Chubby Kumquat. While Maddie's pulling that up, Lady Gaga had an R. Kelly track.
Oh
And then
God.
she removed it from the album and replaced it with the vocals with Christina Aguilera
Wow.
afterwards, and was pretty open about it. And she even said straight up like that she was like years ago when I did this, I was coping with my own sexual assault and I had a lot of really fucked up beliefs. And that informed me working with this person. And, like it was completely wrong. And the song is gone. Um, yeah, I think the way she handled that was pretty good eventually.
This
Oh, yes, this is so good.
I knew you would have seen this. This is so fucking.
But you're not worried that they'll just check out the sexual references and not care about the music? Is that something that worries you?
No, not at all. I've got 3 number 1 records and I've sold almost 4 million albums worldwide.
So what's the biggest thrill of your career so far?
The gay community,
Oh, wow. Why? Can you...
because I love them so much. Because they don't ask me questions like that. Because they love sexual, strong women who speak their mind. You see, if I was a guy and I was sitting here with a cigarette in my hand, grabbing my crotch and talking about how I make music because I love fast cars and fucking girls, you'd call me a rock star. But when I do it in my music and in my videos, because I'm a female, because I make pop music, you are judgmental. And you say that it is distracting. I'm just a rock star.
Are you also a feminist?
I'm not a feminist. I hail men. I love men. I celebrate American
Really
culture
shows
and
when
beer.
this was
The era.
the era.
And then an album cycle later she had high heeled feminist something something, like inner lyrics. So it was right in that progression in that period in time where people were still decrying feminism to preserve their image. Related to this, St. Vincent on her mass seduction album tour, she brought around like a little like a button, like a soundboard, and anytime people asked her what's it like to be a woman in music, she just hit the button and it just like played a pre-recorded answer,
Oh my God, that's incredible.
just because to draw attention to how annoyed she was with constantly being asked about, like, you're a woman guitarist, you're a
Right.
woman who music.
Yeah. So that's only sort of tangentially related, but it's definitely a big part of the way that we talk about a lot of these people. And I think that it's extra relevant when we talk about like trans people and especially trans women. Like I feel like there is this fucking I don't know. And that's a whole conversation, but it's like there's just people are ready to destroy trans women over any perceived slight, and it's exhausting.
It's anything, it's on a whole other level, even from all of the examples we've talked about, which were almost always, for the most part, women, like cis women who did something wrong to some degree. Whereas like with like trans women, it's like just existing and having any glimmer of sexuality, or not having
Yeah.
sexuality projected on you from other people. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's just on a whole other level.
So so anyway, that was a digression from the Grimes report. So where are we at with this storyline?
Yeah, well, I think to kind of wrap it up, I thought maybe we could just open up her Twitter and look at her Twitter likes today.
Oh
See
God.
what's in there. It's not going to be good. She follows a lot of like, carnivore Aurelius fucking type accounts, Twitter accounts where people have like a Greek statue as an avatar, and then they're posting things about marrying someone based on their haplogroup and shit like that.
Do you no, you don't. I was about to cancel you. You don't follow her anymore.
Oh, really?
I don't think so.
Okay. I'm surprised that I thought to do that.
Oh, there's a lot of people that I follow who follow her though, so maybe I'm just not seeing you. Oh, no, here you are.
Okay, yeah,
Canceled.
yeah,
Canceled.
canceled. Yep.
Oh god, I really hope there's not gonna be porn in here. Um,
Oh, I haven't seen any lately. I said as if I'm checking Grimes' likes every day like it's a morning. What is this Homo sapien thing? Okay, no, that's just
yeah, excellent. Like, this is some trad posting shit. Excellence withers without an adversary. That looks pretty. And with like a statue, a Greek statue in the background, that looks pretty.
Yep, that kind of shit. Lots of art.
She's actually
Um,
liking shit about the shit in Ohio, which is not not
Maybe
too
she's trying to
bad.
hide something she already liked. Um, One person that she's gotten really like in bed with lately, it's like her new in-person bestie is this poster Landau. Let me see if she was deleted recently for being awful. So oh, it
She was
looks like
deleted.
she's back up.
Yeah, I was gonna say she was deleted from Elon Musk's fucking Twitter. What did she
I
do?
know, that's when you know it's bad. Landau, D-A-O-D, it's Lan space D-A-D-O-A.
L
Or
L
wait,
A
am I saying
N
that?
D O A.
Or D-A-O, I'm sorry. Yeah, so
Linig
that first one. Yeah,
La Enigma.
yes.
Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god, she's posting about GDP or GPT. Oh, that's very funny. It
Oh my
begins with the
God.
birth of a new people and the choices that they'll have to make and the people they'll decide to become. And then there's a picture of one of the robots from Westworld when she's like being abused by her creators. I'm the kind of feminist who fights for Sydney's right to bodily autonomy. The truth is, no one of us can be free until everybody is free. Sword emoji. Women for women, she for she. Um, which is
And then she says,
Sydney is the code name of Bing's new uh AI. Have you been following this
oh my
fucking story?
God.
God, that is a whole
No.
thing. Oh my god, AI. That's a whole fucking thing. But basically, people are like, they. Oh god, I can't even begin to. Yeah, she calls Elon Musk. She said quotes Elon Musk with "mind of Genghis Khan."
And she really believes that. Like, she and Grimes have both recently been into posting this thing that's like, ladies, pretend that you don't know how to operate the Apple TV because you shouldn't be wasting calories on that. You need to get a man to do that for you. And like, and Landau has posted something about like, if you're not dating someone who's 10 IQ points above you as a woman, then you are, wasting your biological resources or like shit like
Mm.
that. Like real like eugenicist ideas.
The other day, we had a girls' night at my friend's place, and she kept her dog in a cage and her male roommate in his room. Okay. Okay. Yeah, she's posting a lot about AI bullshit in which is
Yeah.
not really
Oh man.
the like it's a whole thing, but yeah. No normal person goes to business school. We
Well,
the
that's
worst,
true.
yeah, the worst person you know.
makes
Made a
makes
good
a
point.
point, but maybe
Yeah.
yeah. But she might mean that in a good way. Like
Yeah. Um yeah, I don't yeah, she's okay, I can't find any.
She's like a shit poster, and Grimes apparently has like an alt account that like posts way worse and likes way worse shit. But it's on that, you know, that path line of like trad wives, and she's been making these statements about like just her like having babies and raising them and like leaving her art behind and like supporting the mission and like
God.
training her son to be like the Paul Atreides from Dune,
Oh
and the
my
daughter is like
God.
like literally like she thinks her daughter is like going to be a Bene Gesserit and shit. It's fuck. It's she's like LARPing her whole life. It's really sad and fucked up.
Yeah.
So that's where it's ended up.
And it's sad because we really thought dating Chelsea Manning was gonna be it, because which she is no longer. Yeah, Ben Gesserit are not examples to follow. Uh,
No.
but yeah, that only lasted a month. I didn't know that. That I feel like when we were first talking about this stream, that was something that you told me, because I never heard that they broke up, but apparently that only lasted a month.
Yeah, it was only 1 or 2 months, and then like there's really not like yeah, I don't even know how involved it really like got or anything, but good for Chelsea that she's not in that situation, especially with the things Elon Musk says about trans women, including his own daughter. So
Yeah, yeah, his yeah, um, uh, Elon Musk specific, like there was a, and it feels weird to talk about because like this is so they so clearly don't want any media attention, but they one of his kids changed their name, and in the like reasoning in the court filing, it was they changed both their first name and their last name. It was like, I'm trans and I don't want to be associated with this person at all. And
mhm.
then Elon Musk since then has basically been like, yeah, it was the communists at university that turned them away from me. um yeah, it's, and he said a bunch of shit
Yeah,
about that.
that was a whole other thing that we didn't even get into. His like pronouns suck tweet, and then Grimes replying to it and being like, pick up your phone and give me a doll, meaning call, but she typoed it. This is not your heart.
It is.
And it is his heart. And this was around the time that his daughter was transitioning, you know, like, and then
God.
when the, yeah, and then he changed his display name to Alana Musk. Like, it's awful. Just the most, like, immature, aggressive, mean spirited shit.
I that For me, Elon Elon Musk makes me so fucking mad, and I feel bad because I think about him more than I wish I could. I wish I could delete him from my brain. Um, but I don't understand. It's crazy to me that there are still people that like outside of his cult that still are like, oh yeah, he seems cool. I don't understand how him denying COVID was not the end of it for anyone who was paying attention to any of it, right? Like that was just so fucking wild to me, you know. And his COVID will be he made some statement that like COVID will be gone by April, and it's like that is just like, how do you not realize that's,
That's what Trump did.
yeah, and it's also like that was the norm. That's been the norm for every single one of his predictions have been that wrong. Like
Yeah, or any promise he's offered, like
right.
the tunnel, everything. Like everything's a bad idea that was actually just designed to siphon off resources that were going to go into public infrastructure. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he
and it's the thing. Yeah,
that was a specific thing where he has come out and said that the hyperloop, him putting forward the hyperloop, was specifically because he didn't want California to invest in public transportation because he doesn't like being on the train with, you know, the proles. Like that was a
right.
thing that came out in his biography where it's like, and this is the biographer he hired like that was in his biography, and it was like, yeah, that was explicitly the goal of Hyperloop.
Yeah, it's some real Who Framed Roger Rabbit, like destroying the streetcar shit. But instead of the whole automotive industry, it's one man
Yeah.
doing it, doing just as much damage on his own.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Anyway, um
Anyway,
that so but what is so I think the real question is like, what does that mean? Like, all right.
what does this mean? Yeah,
But what so this is a thing that we'll talk more, like I but like, we were talking about all of this stuff. Is there, it is such a spectrum, right? And what does it mean to not support someone, and like what levels, like what is acceptable, in what ways is it acceptable to consume things in a society that is like fundamentally operated by, you know uh capitalism, which is so unethical. Like, where do you draw the line with what you consume from Grimes now?
yeah. I mean, I think for a long time, as I already described, I had this whole narrative in my mind of like, this person is just maybe a questioning trans person who's in this horrible relationship, and maybe they'll figure it out. This like delusion that I had, right? That
Right.
clearly was like proven completely wrong. That everything that they were like these breadcrumbs of where she was going and how she was just justifying the fact that she has a vested interest in profiting off of everything that this man does, and believes in this ideology of like the mission of getting people to Mars no matter what else happens, and making and assuming that AI is going to rule the world, and so just like doing everything you can to assist that, so that you're rewarded by the AI. And so that's like, that's really given me a lot of like pause about how I usually like, I have a little bit more wiggle room in a lot of creators than most people that I know that have similar political ideals than I do. Like I'll apologize for a lot of things that ContraPoints has done. I'll like I said, Azealia Banks. Like there's a lot of people who I'm like, oh, let's give them some amount of grace and just be aware of their flaws and let that inform how we interpret their work and not idealize them and not do the parasocial thing. Um, but then if this is where it leads,
Yeah.
maybe I've been wrong all along to do that,
That's, yeah. And I think it's also like, it's not a binary thing too, right? Like, I literally, I don't, I as sad as it is for the artists I do like, I don't think it matters to fucking stream people on Spotify, because it's literally it's cents. It's like, you know, a tiny, tiny, tiny portion of a cent. It doesn't really matter. But it's like, yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't think I would go to a concert of Grimes now, and it's like, it's so
Yeah.
it's like a person by person thing, and then it's also like a, like, everything about how you interact with them. Um, yeah. So I and I think that this really gets to the core of like why, a thing that we've talked about since before doing this stream, of like, there aren't hard moral rules. Like, this is not the way the world operates, and social media, like, makes us, it like prioritizes hard and fast rules in the way, like, people talking about things as if it's black and white, and it's just, it's, yeah, it's just gray, and we have to decide on a case by case basis. And unfortunately, it really seems like Grimes has, like, kind of, in a lot of ways, gone over that line where it's like, if you're explicitly boosting fascism, that is a lot different than, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's like another gradient that's important to it. I think is like how much significance does this thing have in the culture, and is it useful to know
Right.
about? Grimes is pretty artistically irrelevant at this point, you know. Like I'll still listen to the albums that I like from the past, and you know, watch it on YouTube with ad blocker on, which is probably what I was going to do anyway. So you know, it's probably not doing much to like materially like boost your profile. But if I can find a sketchier way to do it that's feasible, I'd love to do that too. Versus like one of the other examples that I put in the document is like maybe he's not relevant anymore either, but like Quentin Tarantino. Like I
Right.
pirated Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and I'm glad I did because that whole movie is about him. It very covertly, it's about him and it's about Weinstein and it's about criticisms of artists and it's him like justify it shows how he kind of justifies these things in his mind and his like misogyny at the end of the day with regard to like some of the allegations that that came out from Uma Thurman about unsafe working conditions on the set of Kill Bill, which was a movie that I still adore, you know.
Yeah.
um, and like people going through the Harry Potter game to like report on or to grapple with like what its themes are and the anti-Semitism in it, like that has value. But you have to do it in a way that's not going to promote this thing. And I think, unfortunately, like we're seeing how much people are talking about it also helps reinforce how widespread it is and is free advertising. So it's really difficult, you
Yeah.
know. Um,
I I I
so,
I was thinking about this today, and I think it's I I think one thing that I was thinking about, and we were making jokes about like I was making jokes about this dumb gun, Shinzo Abe gun and shit, and like, but I legitimately do think that I don't know, I feel like in order for myself to be have a completely consistent moral framework, I would need to like I would the only way to do that would be to like you know be go and just be a water defender the rest of my life, or like go down to the Cop City protests and live in a tree there. Like there's the and I don't but I also am trying to have like recognize that that's just not feasible. Like we also have to be able to like live in a society, and you know I have to be able to kind of put myself first in some ways. So I don't know, I don't have answers to that when it gets to like that really deep place of like how you just can't live in a society. We live in an immoral society, and at the end of the day you can't like I don't know. I'm curious if you, Devin, if you have thoughts about like on a more fundamental level of like living in a society that is unjust. I don't know that I have concrete thoughts about it other than it's sad. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. So one thing that really gets on my nerves, and I'm gonna move around a little bit as I'm talking because my phone is dying, so I'm gonna have to grab a charger.
Oh
So
no.
apologies, everyone. Everyone's gonna get the live what normally talking to me on a video chat is like in real life as like a friend experience. Um, One thing that really frustrates me a lot in these conversations is, and this is something I'm working on in my new book a little bit, because of capitalism, we're really taught to think of our purchases and our consumption as one of our main ways of expressing who we are, right? That's where rainbow capitalism comes from. This idea
Right.
that your vote is your dollar, and what you consume is who you are. And so you don't have to have actual queer community. You can just adorn yourself in rainbow patches and buy them at Target and feel affirmed through that, you know. And capitalism has a lot to gain from us thinking that because it's a way to it alienates us and then it offers us like a false answer to our alienation, right?
Right.
And so I think sometimes that does result in us moralizing our consumption it's a good thing we're having these conversations when we think about these things, but it can sometimes get to the point where we symbolize who someone is by what they buy, and we symbolize how good of a person we are by what we consume,
Yeah.
when there are much bigger things to be thinking about. It's just disproportionate. It's not that we shouldn't be thinking about it, and I don't mean it to like tone police people who bring these things up, right? It's just that like there was something that I reblogged on Tumblr the other day where it was like a gay man who felt guilty for reading yaoi or like something because it was like because that's fetishistic, and it was like, my dude, you're consuming like gay stories as a gay man. It's okay if even there are like there happen to be a lot of straight women who write in that genre. Like you're
Right.
still that's probably not an important thing for you to worry
Right.
about. So it's really tricky. Like it's I think about this stuff a lot with the art I consume because the art helps shape and reflect our culture, and it really gets into our heads. It
Yeah.
brainwashes us. And that's why it matters. In addition to the economic side of things, um, and I think sometimes we get too focused on the consumer capitalist side of it, and that can lead to us being just marketed to and being told, see this movie because it's Asian representation, but let's really like think about what the ideology of the movie is or whatever. It's queer representation, but it's
Right.
is it doing anything to make anybody's lives better or to challenge the status quo? Maybe not. Um, so that's just something that always kind of is difficult to sit with because it frustrates me sometimes that that's like it feels like our first tool to reach for is I'm going to try and purge myself of these negative associations by not consuming anything tainted when um, like you said, if the society is evil, then you have to violate the rules of the society wherever you can, and that can happen in a lot of quiet ways too, like ways that are part of your daily life, just choosing the same way that like just being an accomplice
Yeah.
entails. Like how am I going to steal and break the rules and violate the norms of the society that are evil? You know what I mean? And I think opportunities for that are everywhere, no matter where we're positioned. So.
Yeah. And I think so much of I think it is like so much of it feels like a purposeful, you know, they like it is a purposeful propaganda effort to make you believe that, like, and not in a conspiracy way, but in like this is the incentives that the people who create our media have. Like, they want you to have that effect of, there's the classic example of like, if you show somebody bad teeth, like yellow teeth, they might be more likely to brush their teeth. But if you show them like rotting, destroyed teeth, and you're like, this is what happens if you don't do all of your teeth care perfectly, like it's like a nihilistic effect. It's like, well, there's no hope. My teeth are fucked. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is like a purposeful thing from, you know, that that is you can't allow yourself to have that. That is what, the people in power want. And I'm not somebody who thinks it's not a conspiracy. It's not like there's some group of bankers that are like doing that specific, like trying to do that specifically. It's just, the people in power have incentives to to have that be people's state of mind. And, you know, you're not all of us are gonna go and, do like give our lives to destroying the machine. And mostly that's, it's not like you're gonna go and change everything by yourself. So I yeah, I think that is the gray spectrum that this kind of conversation lives in. And it's important to like recognize the grayness and not try to give edicts because there aren't any.
Right. Yeah, yeah, and I think that alone is an important project. It's just like people being more critical analyzers of what they do and what they're reading or listening to and what they think about it. Like that is just something that when people are bombarded with a lot of information more than their brains can handle, they're just not as equipped to do in that moment, you know? So um, just encouraging people to actually have their own discernment about these things and to think about it
Yeah.
wherever they end up, like, because again, how we draw the line and how we navigate these things, a lot of times it isn't clear cut. But I think to even be having the right conversations instead of having those edicts or like social media battles that are like, you know, tumblers where people have like do not interacts for people that are fans of certain media properties, that where it's like the stakes are so low of like,
Yeah.
oh, these two, you know, whatever, we've all heard the silly things that people like get canceled for liking where it doesn't matter. um you know, like, and I don't know, why this is why the recent ContraPoints stuff is like coming to mind, but like where she just kind of admitted like, oh, I got duped into talking to talking about to a like pro JK Rowling source, and like here's the mistakes that I made. Like
Yeah.
again, I think living in that. Yeah,
Specifically, she admitted to being on a podcast where the framing was a both sides framing of J.K. Rowling and the other sides, but then even the name specifically was like the something about comparing her to, you know, her being canceled to witch burning and shit. It was
yeah, it
it
was like the
was
witch hunt against JK Rowling. Just yeah,
right. Right. So it is like nominally a both sides thing, which is fucked in general. But she thought she could, you know, make a good statement, and uh, then it turned into even worse than that of like a, you know, look how sad J.K. Rowling is.
yeah. I'm seeing a lot of really good conversations in the chat about people kind of saying that like, you know, there's this desire to be on the front lines of a lot of protests and social movements. It's for our set. I've spoken with XR members and they've told me to avoid protests if I can't take the public abuse, and I don't think I can. um, Ori Planet saying, I want to be in the front lines, but it's not for me. So I just fight by existing at my small social scale.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to like highlight that idea of just like finding your like character class in these fights, I think is a really important thing. Um, and God, I can't remember where I was about to go with that, but it's just something I resonate to a lot. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I just know that like when I'm in the position of confronting bigotry, like this just happened on the bus the other day. I like almost got into a physical altercation because when I'm think I'm doing the right thing, I don't make good decisions. That, you know, like it was like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good that I said something, but I just escalated the situation and maybe made it worse, which as a white person is not usually the move. So I think that's also a whole other thing, is not thinking about this stuff in like an individualistic way, you know, in terms of like what can I do to assuage my guilt or my shame, right?
Right.
Um,
Right. Because it's so much of that. It's definitely a like, this is not about you and your guilt. Like, you know, this is a fight that in a lot of ways probably affects other people more than you, and, you know, thinking you're going to change it all is very much a, you know, that is a selfish thing. Like, even if it's like, you know, for the right reasons or whatever.
Right. Yeah, it's still a very like individualistic idea of how these things happen. When actually, you know, when we think of it more as like finding our where we fit in a greater community and what we can do to help build a movement, that's a really different conversation, and it's much slower and
Yeah.
it's tough. It's tough because sometimes you don't know if it's making a difference and you kind of have to just trust that it's slow,
Yeah.
you know.
I um I think that the thing that I was thinking about, um and kind of where this came from, like, the I was thinking a lot about Hogwarts Legacy, and we'll talk specifically about that and J.K. Rowling and stuff, but I think the thing that I really decided is, or like the thought that I have is like, it is very different to, like, you're never gonna consume media by entirely unproblematic people. Like, and you're never gonna consume
Right.
entirely unproblematic media but I do think it's different when a person positions themselves as the face of a movement. That's the big thing that I've been really thinking about with J.K. Rowling specifically, um, and you know that is true for other people. You know, I think that that's what's so bad about Elon Musk as well in a lot of ways, because he does a lot of actual, like, concrete harm to the world and to people, but also he is the face of a movement that is really, really fascist and bad. And J.K. Rowling is also like that. She has, like, if you go to fucking her Twitter account, she has not posted about Hogwarts Legacy. Like, the majority of her Twitter account for the past fucking what, 4 years has been solely anti-trans shit. It is solely,
Right.
that is what she is doing with her life right now. And she's
obsessed. Yeah.
and she's also a fucking billionaire still, I believe, and the head of a fucking entire movement. And so yes, it is very different to consume media or just interact with her as an artist when she is the face of that movement, um, versus somebody else who could be just as transphobic as her, but privately, or even just as one of the things that they do and talk about. Um, and that is why I think it is so important to like, why boycotting Hogwarts Legacy specifically is extremely important, especially if somebody is a fucking streamer or whatever, because it is it is the face of a movement, and it's and that, you know, so, yeah, somebody said soft power, which is a really good, yeah, in terms of soft power, she's super influential, which is a very good point. But then also by streaming Hogwarts Legacy and buying Hogwarts Legacy, like, that is actually a very good, that is what decides if she is somebody that corporations are willing to work with. Like, the fucking, all of the new Harry Potter movies, the fucking Grimes of Grimblebelb, they all fucking have done terribly. And I mean, I think that's a lot because they're bad movies, but it's also because I think that all of this stuff around it is a big part of that. And there just doesn't seem to be the stomach for fucking Harry Potter shit. And so if a fucking corporate board is looking at, do we want to spend our next $1 billion on some Harry Potter shit or some other shit that's going to make us $1 billion? What do they look at? The controversy around J.K. Rowling is a huge part of that. And when they spend their money on making Harry Potter shit, they are, like, supporting transphobia. And J.K. Rowling specifically has talked about how she sees, she's like, every time somebody complains about my transphobia, I cry myself to sleep with my billions of dollars. Like, clearly people still love me. And yeah, so it's extremely important that yes, the amount of money that goes to her specifically, and then from her goes to anti-trans causes, is important. And that's certainly an element of this discussion. But it is, it keeps her, as Azealia August says, it keeps her culturally relevant. And that is way more dangerous. It is showing that you can do the things that she's doing and say the things that she's saying about trans people and still continue to be a huge, own a huge media property that all of these people are interfacing with. And
Right.
it's like, it's one thing to play the game. If you want to fucking buy it and play it, like, yeah, that's $60 that's going to a game design company that is giving a cut to J.K. Rowling, that is giving a cut to anti-trans causes. That's bad. That's unambiguously bad for another.
And some of the developers are very openly shitty too, and anti-Semitic and everything.
Right, and I want to get into a lot of the specifics about this game because it's very fucked. But, like, that in itself is, like, it's bad, but it's not the reason why, this is why, like, that is not the primary thing that is so bad about buying it. It is very much, the social capital that, you know, she can be this piece of shit and people don't care. And that's, yeah, and it's just, and it's that's why people like playing the game, like big streamers who are nominally pro trans, and then they're like streaming the games and like making, you know, they're like, oh, we're gonna do a charity for trans. That's just not the way that it
Hassan,
fucking
that
works.
motherfucker. I hate that motherfucker so much. Like, why are you raising the cachet? Or it's and it's this is like the capitalist thinking. It's like you're offering like an indulgence. It's
Yes.
like you're buying an indulgence from the Catholic Church. Like, oh, I get to play the naughty game as long as I throw money at the problem. And it's like, no, you have 32,000 people watching you on Twitch right now. Like, more of them are going to buy that game, and it also, like you said, it basically opens up the Overton window, like the
Right.
window of what's considered acceptable political opinions to have.
Yep.
Um, when is that normalized? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the whole and that's the whole discussion that I think that, I don't know, I was thinking about, where it's like, this is really complicated. And I watched this video. This is another tangent, but I have watched Dunkey. I enjoy Dunkey. Did you hear about this, Devin?
No, I don't think so.
Do you know who Dunkey is?
No, I don't.
He makes YouTube videos about games. He mostly has been canceled by Sonic fans for talking shit about Sonic games and shit like that, because he does these reviews that are mostly just like, if he doesn't like a game, he doesn't review it on its merits. He just makes mostly a comedy video that shows all of its worst glitches, and so people get mad at him for that. But, and also, I'm sure there's other shit. I don't know much about Donkey. I'm sure there's worse shit that he's done, but the he made this video recently that was like, uh he basically he made this video that was like, like, I think it's called like Hogwarts Legacy, or like Harry Potter and the Legend of the Forbidden Game or something. And it's basically like, hey, I played Harry Potter, I played Hogwarts, and it was and actually, no, that I wasn't allowed to play that game, so I played Overwatch, a game with no problems. And so it keeps going and going, of like all of these like games that are like, oh, actually, like, I stopped playing Hogwarts to play Overwatch, which is like, you know, all the Activision Blizzard stuff. And it's like, and he goes through all of
Hmm.
these different games, and at the end he's like, I'll play Gex, a game that clearly has no problems. And then he like shows this like massively racist, an entire like section of the open world that is set in Chinatown and is all like like racist against Chinese people. And he's basically like, there's no game free of sin, right? Which is like kind of the argument that we've been talking about. And it's like, I will admit it was a funny video and like a well-made point, but it's also, it's just so wrong, because it doesn't grip with the differences between like so many things. Like there's a big difference between like playing that game, or like any of those things. They're all like things that you have to consider on a case by case basis. And he just put them in this video of like, yeah, this game has all of this controversy, and this game has all this controversy, and you can't, any game you play is going to have controversy. And it's true, but again, these are the conversations that you need to be having, because the real world harm in playing, you know, Hogwarts Legacy is very different from the real world harm of playing a fucking 20-year-old game that, you know, you can't buy anymore with a really racist
Right. It's
section, like, or whatever,
kind
all
of
this shit.
whataboutism or something,
Absolutely.
like at some point it's like weird, like arguing almost for like, I don't know, moral relativism isn't quite the same world. It's like nihilistic or something,
Right.
you know. Um,
And yeah,
yeah.
and I just so much think that this, like, the like, yes, we have to pick our battles, but like, that if you, there is a direct line, there is no more direct line. Like, I can't draw a clear line between any person almost any person, and the laws that, like, what was it in Florida? There's literally a law that is like, um, they just banned uh, transition care for all ages. I think, right? Am I understanding
Hmm.
exactly how that law worked, or if
I think so. I think so. Or yeah, I don't know if it passed. I can't speak to it enough. But there's also like they're also attacking it via like insurance in Tennessee. That's another thing that I just learned about yesterday. So yeah.
yeah, and literally in Texas, literally taking trans kids away from their parents. Like,
Hmm.
it's and this is a fucking, like, by the definition of what a genocide is, like, doesn't just mean killing people. It means erasing someone, erasing a group of people. And that's what this is. That is
Hmm.
what is happening. And there's no one on the planet, very few people on the planet that have have influenced that more than, like, rhetorically, than J.K. Rowling. And it's, yeah. So
Yeah. Um. Oh, my computer just died in front of me. No, I was trying to read the chat. Oh, okay, it's back. Um, Ori Planet, is comment reminded me of something kind of relevant to this, I think, with the like moral relativism of it. That it reminds me of when I was trying to only consume totally unproblematic media. I was so naive. It reminds me of this critique that I used to see of Dylan Marin. He was one of the voice actors on Welcome to Night Vale. Carlos. He did this video series called Wine Tasting, where he would just kind of like watch old movies like Ace Ventura and like comment on the transphobia in it, for instance. And people used to criticize it for saying like, well, what's the point in like dredging up old things from our childhood and making us feel bad about it? And it's like, no, that was never the point. Like, this is what we grew up on. This is what has
yeah,
shaped our attitudes to ourselves. And like the trans misogyny in that movie is a joke that has been echoed in countless other media properties in the years since. And that's affected people's decisions about whether or not to transition
that
for a long time,
that
you
movie
know?
specifically, is my very first memory. I don't know if I've said this on here, but that is my very first memory of knowing what a trans person was. I have a horrible memory. I don't remember a lot of things. I vividly remember that movie. Like, and that specifically, the reveal at the end of the villain, the female villain was actually a man, and, like, fucking,
The disgust.
right, like, there's literally the scene where he pukes for, like, it's like a montage of him puking for like hours. And, like, that's the first time I could remember learning that trans people existed. And I know that had a fucking effect on me. Like, I
Yeah,
still thought about it years later. And remembering that I
yeah.
was not watching it alone, that I was watching it, like, with my family. Like, yeah.
Yeah. And so, and like Silence of the Lambs is another huge one. Is it a wonderfully made film? Whatever. Sure. Yes. But the impact it has had on the culture, even if that was explicitly not Thomas Harris's intent as the writer, it's not about, oh, I have this moral scourge because I've watched this bad movie. It's like, no, no, no. Let's like it's almost like this dark version of like radical acceptance for me that it's like we accept that this is the reality that we grew up with. This is the blood that's like on all of our hands and it's not about trying to wash it off. It's about just like looking at it and seeing that it's everywhere. Like we're not even at the point where we really are grappling with like the enormity of how much it affects us, you know? So like
Yeah.
that's how I often feel about it. My analog for that one is Oprah's like Pregnant Man. Like that's like my first memory that I have of learning about trans people and that being, treated as, trans people on shows like that, they were treated like sideshow freaks. And this impossibly rare thing, which trans men got a much better representation than trans women in that regard, but very othering
Yeah.
across the board. And like that stuff affects us and it affects how we view other trans people. It affects our ideologies, like this is just something that we like carry as existing in a society,
Yeah.
I say. half-hearted Joker voice
we
today.
I don't have one. I don't have a bumper for that, but it's coming. Suggestions welcome for We Live in a Society. I think Jared Leto Joker said it in the movie, or there's a deleted scene or something, which I remembered.
Okay.
So that
Okay, good. The bad Joker. Okay, great. Even better.
but yeah, we really do live in a society. I think a big one that I've like, and I think it's so important to like, you don't have to fucking not watch anything that could ever be problematic, but I think it's so important that you interrogate the things that you watch, even the things you fucking love. Like, my favorite fucking one of my probably my favorite piece of media ever is Blade Runner, and that shit is intensely fucking misogynistic. I didn't realize
Hmm.
until only a few years ago that I watched I always forget which one, but it's the one with the final cut, I think, that has every scene that is like, and like has the most in it. And there's literally a scene where it's like, where the Harrison Ford and the female lead like have sex, and it's like she doesn't want to, and he's like, I know better than you that you want to. And it's like, that shit
It's
is,
very, very violent. Yeah, or like he won't let her leave and makes her say she wants it. It's bad. Yeah.
it's really bad. And it's like, that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy that movie. um uh Thanks for hanging out, Mallow really
Yeah. Have a good
should
rest of your day.
um but yeah, I think it's so important to to just fucking recognize that shit. One of the things, and there's so much, I mean, we could talk for hours and hours about specifically racist, anti-black tropes, but the one that I notice the most, and it's so depressing how it's every single time, is the way that the black person, if there's a black person in a show, like, especially like, mostly it's if it's like a mostly white show, and they have like one character that comes on that's black, it's like almost 100% that person is going to be morally gray, right? If they don't
Hmm.
like fully come out as like, oh yeah, I'm actually the villain, they'll be like the fucking anti-hero that is like on the good side, but like via like dark means. And it's like, just like, no, like, it was fucking Supernatural that made me realize how blatant that was, because it was every fucking like black character on that show had that. And then I was like, especially stuff from that era, but then still it's so depressing that it's like movies that come out now, it's like that's still the way that it's fucking, that every fucking like person of color, but especially black character, is always written that way. And it's just, it's so sad. And it's like, I don't think these writers realize they're doing it. They just don't see the connection. And it's like, that's why you have to fucking recognize it. Like, you have to recognize that it's happening so that you can notice when you're perpetuating it. Because if you don't notice it's happening, you're just gonna perpetuate it without knowing.
Right. And these problems are systemic. They're really deep-seated cultural issues, and that's why the solution isn't, oh, I'm just going to boycott this one movie and like morally pat myself on the back for it. Like, obviously, if
Right.
you don't want to see something and you don't want to put that additional poison in your veins, of course, don't. But don't think that that removes you from a culture that produces those images over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, like that is not, you're not going to get your hands clean. This is everywhere. And so, you have to find some way to grapple with it. And that does not have to be by watching it. It does not have to be by giving money to it. It's just that, there is no purity here, like there are ideologies and belief systems about groups of people that inform those trends and tropes.
Yeah.
Hey, Mimo.
Hello. Yeah, we're running low on time, which we knew we would. So I wanted to, I don't know
Yes.
what else, but I did want to go through some of the ways in which Hogwarts Legacy is really explicitly anti-Semitic.
Yeah,
Um,
let's get into it.
so let's see if I can bring up this. Somebody, let's see if I meant to save it, but I didn't, of course. So let me. There's somebody on Twitter named Moby Dick Girl who did a good breakdown of like the entire plot from a like she tweets too much. I'm not gonna be able to find it. I meant to save it and I didn't. But so I might have to just do this from memory. But yeah, first of all, the director of the game, I believe, is explicitly like he has an entire YouTube channel that is explicitly like a woke, like anti woke, anti SJW like rant YouTube, which is nuts. And he's the one that has directed the game. I know that there's a lot of the people involved are like fucked up alt-right people. And then, you know, most people probably know that like the goblins in in Harry Potter in general are like anti-Semitic stereotypes. Like goblins in most media has its roots in anti-Semitic stereotypes. And that's a whole discussion about like, you know, can you use this stuff when it has that kind of roots that, but the goblins in Harry Potter are pretty fucking bad. I mean, literally they're bankers with hooked noses that, you know, are colluding behind the scenes to, and, you know, money grubbing and all this shit. And the plot line is basically like, it is like there is so only wizards have magic, but goblins have access to this other kind of magic called ancient magic, which is a heritable trait. And the stuff that I was reading was like it's like a thing that you have in you that you get from your family that is very blood-like, right? Like there is yeah, exactly. And so
this already sounds like matrilineal descent, like
yes,
like weird. Yeah.
And so the goblins are banned from using normal wizard magic with wands, and they're mad about this, and so they are going to do a revolt. And there's this thing where it's like it's actually masterminded by like another, like an actual wizard, and not actually the goblins themselves, which is like, you know, goes back into those same traits of like, you know, the people that were fighting are both incredibly strong and incredibly weak at the same time, which is like the, you know, fascist like way. But yeah, the whole plot line revolves around like trying to get this ancient blood from different, like using this ancient blood and like getting it from like literally that part of their plot is like kidnapping children to like get this ancient blood, or this ancient magic, which has these blood parallels. And yeah, it's the entire plot is extremely anti-Semitic. Damn, I really should have saved that. I'm not finding it, but yeah, the whole thing, and not to mention the like weird slavery stuff with like house elves, where it's like, even in the books, where it's like you know, house elves are slaves but they like it, so it's fine. Is literally what the plot is about.
They want that structure, which is like literally like how slavery was justified here in the U.S. in a lot of writing, but it was just for poor people's moral, you know, like ascension to have that structure imposed upon them. It's like just textbook.
Yeah.
Historically, how those things were justified.
Oh yeah, that was another really blatant thing is let's see if I can pull up a picture.
Oh yeah, Chubby Kumquat. I remember that Amanda Palmer belly gate. There's a lot of stuff. I could talk about Amanda Palmer as long as I could talk about Grimes. So you and I should talk about that.
Um, yeah. So there's this, which is an item that a goblin artifact, which is a horn. Horns like this were used by goblins during the 1612 Goblin Rebellion to rally troops and generally annoy witches and wizards. Uh, and this is like looks exactly like a forgive me the shofat show shofar horn, um,
Mm,
which is a ceremonial horn that is rung that is like blown in Jewish tradition that I don't remember the specific stuff, but it's so clearly that. And there's I think that there's also something about that year is also like a reference to something within Judaism. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they literally gave them a fucking shofar, literally.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, it's like, there's people unwittingly reproducing well-worn tropes. Like the McElroys got criticized for that when Adventure Zone was serialized into a comic, like the
yeah,
way that we draw like witches and wizards. And that's stuff you can grapple with and be like, oh, I wasn't aware of that history. What skin color should I make this wizard? Because green is actually really anti-Semitic, associations, blah blah blah. Like, and then you're just literally lifting things from like Jewish traditions and history and infusing them in your game, where it's just beyond any like it's just so clearly like intentional, which is like, yeah,
it's too
it's
much to be a it's too much to be a coincidence.
yeah, especially when we know the ideologies of people working on this too. And JoJo Bean's Adventure Bellygate was basically Amanda Palmer had a video. I think it was Map of California, where she was just wearing like short shorts and like she has a little bit of like stomach fat on her body. She's a thin person, but she has stomach fat on her body. And her like label wouldn't let her like release that basically because
God.
and she was very open about that. This was like 2007 maybe or something.
Yeah, yeah. There's more.
Or sorry, it was Jen who asked that.
There's a scene in the movie where they're in one of the movies where they're in the Goblin Bank and there's literally a Star of David. Um, let's see if I can find that. Yeah, and I'm sure there's going to
Yeah, I
be a
think that's
bunch more shit. Uh, yeah, like you can see, this is this is a scene from the movie where, like, I mean, just look at this shit. Like,
yeah. Yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
blatant.
it's so blatant. And the fact that it's just like considered acceptable. Again, it's the Overton window. Like it's just like this is where we are culturally,
Yeah.
that isn't being widely criticized. It's like absurd.
So anyway, the Wizard game is bad. If you feel like you want to play it for some reason, pirate it. I don't. It's very different for an individual to play it than, especially if you're like, want to find out all the ways in which it's anti-Semitic. But, um, yeah, it's just it really it's unfathomable. Like people were making comparisons to like I think the 2000s where with Chick-fil-A, where it was like you know, people would be thank you.
Well, thanks for the subscription, Extra Stick
Yeah.
Bone.
Oh, yeah, this I'll totally
Our new subscription sound effect.
yes, and also it'll anytime anybody subscribes, you get a random gif from a big pool.
That's
uh
amazing.
but anyway, yeah, it's all bad. So don't accept fucking streamers playing that shit.
No, and steal any problematic media. It's not, like if you need to be informed of its content, piracy is the solution.
Yep.
For problematic books, libgen.rs.
Oh, thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, Ori Planet.
Yeah, look at you can see there's another tacky
Yes.
gif.
Yes, it's so good.
Also, if anybody cheers, there is I basically cheers subscribers and followers both have giant. I put a shitload of gifs in there, so you'll get random gifs for both of those. Cheers,
Oh
I
my
haven't had
God,
a
yeah.
chance to. I want to make a huge pool of random gifs for it to play, but for now, it's. I found the weirdest gif I have found from gifcities.org. So
Oh my God, we love
if anybody cheers, you can see the very strange gif that plays.
using my far right mom's Prime subscription to subscribe here.
Yeah, look at that
Yes,
man.
very good. Oh my God, what the fuck?
It's
I
this
love it.
random Indian dude in sunglasses with with a uh
He's so cool.
fireworks over him, and I don't know why or who he
Is he
is.
getting wet? JoJo Bean's Adventures. Well, we're getting wet looking at
I don't know who he is or if he's problematic.
him. But he's so small, we can't even tell.
I know.
Click the chat now.
Yeah.
Oh my God. One Amanda Palmer thing I will share as just a palate cleanse is the fact that she, uh, somebody correct me if I get this backwards. It's been a minute. I think the way that she let Neil Gaiman know she was divorcing him was in a Patreon post.
Oh my fucking god. Are they back together? Did they get back together? Are they still?
I believe so. I believe so. I think maybe the pandemic was just two kind of annoying people together needed a break, you know.
I want them to be
But
good poly representation. Ugh.
well, they're definitely poly representation, but I don't think
It's good.
I think Neil Gaiman's fine. Like he's on Tumblr a lot. I like that about him. He's trying out there. Um
Yeah, he seems good.
yeah, I mean Amanda Palmer armpit ukulele Patreon post.
What?
She's just, you know.
She's got lore.
Oh, maybe she did a Patreon post multiple times then Chubby Kumquat because I am talking about 2020 when she left the country. She like left New Zealand with I think with the kid or maybe she left the kid behind. I don't know, but she just literally like posted a Patreon post that was like Neil and I are moving on, and he was like on Twitter he was like we are.
God. Um So anyway, if you want to play the wizard game and stream it, just subscribe here and you will absolve you.
Yes, you will have an indulgence. Yes.
Oh my god.
Well, and that's another piece of it too, like that representation question. I saw some people talking about, oh, there's a explicitly trans character in the game.
Like that's not the most
And it's like,
explicit trying to change the conversation thing in the entire fucking planet.
mm-hmm,
And her name
literally,
is
yeah,
Serena Ryan. Like, come the fuck on.
so bad. Sharona Ryan.
But my best friend is Black Vibes, absolutely.
Yep.
Do they even call her Ryan? Fucking
Oh my
seriously.
God.
Just
Fucking and J.K. Rowling has always been so shady with like the names of characters. Obviously, Cho Chang being the most obvious example, but
what is it? Shacklebolt, the Kingly Shacklebolt. Is that the black guy?
oh my God, yeah,
I think that's the one I always
gosh,
think of. Kingsley Shacklebolt. Yeah.
Kingsley. God. They she sucks so hard. How have the sales been on this game? Have the sales been good? Do I
It's
even want to know?
I think they've been extremely good, unfortunately, but from everything I've heard, it's a bad fucking game. Basically, there were very few reviews of it at first. It got really good reviews at first because no one with any shred of decency fucking wanted to touch it, and the people who did were just either, yeah, we got a Charles, either transphobes that liked it because it was from the transphobe, or from people who are so obsessed with Harry Potter that they don't fucking care about anything else. But there,
Right.
um, yeah, everything I've heard is that it's a bad game. There's like 10 spells in it, and it's a game about wizarding.
God. Yeah. Hopefully that at least comes back to bite the studio or something. But
Somebody
yeah,
pointed out
that's
that
rough.
like when you but you know, and that's another thing, people are like, well, it hasn't been effective. And it's like, this is like, here, let's, like, when you go, you just search, and I know Google results are different for everybody, but it's like, no, it's not now, but I know a lot of like, there aren't any reviews um uh that don't at least mention the controversy, and that is like, for boycotts, that is not nothing. Like,
Right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's getting a lot of free advertising in a lot of ways because of things like the Hassan shit. But like, again, if you're at least changing the conversation, um, that's some difference that you can make. That like the focal point is on acknowledging it. But then it's like, then what's the nature of the reporting? Is it reported as both sides shit? Is it shit where people are like, talking about J.K. Rowling enduring a witch hunt and so on and so forth? Like it's, you know, depends.
yeah, yeah. Somebody suggested searching on DuckDuckGo to get a more unbiased to search results to see what actually comes up. And yeah, I mean, half this shit is about, the top result right now is the Polygon review, vapid open world. Rowling Spectre hangs over a vapid open world. Um, yeah, a lot of this shit is about about the controversy, and it's like, that is not normal for this shit.
Yeah. I think I heard that it was the IGN review that like it was just down the line, almost everything was like, this doesn't quite work, this is
Yep,
underwhelming, blah blah blah. But then the rating was still pretty
it was
high
9 out of 10.
because it's all just because it's still about industry access that you basically can't give a bad review to these big AAA games because then the studios just won't give you early access
Yep.
to be able to review them as a reviewer. Um,
Yeah. Ethics in game
so
journalism, which is like,
yes,
goes into that whole thing
yes,
of like, the yeah.
but yeah, and Stephanie Sterling is a good person on YouTube to go to for content about that and just how poisonous that industry is. And she's basically been, or they've basically been closed out of having any access to review copies or review access to things because they're openly critical about that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep. And it's interesting because everybody who didn't get the early review, like, their review, like, when did Polygon's review come out? Like, Polygon's review came out like to today. So
mm,
much of, and that's another big part of the conversation, was it's like, the only reviews that came out when people first started talking about this, the game hadn't even come out, because there was some fucking pre-order bonus where you got to play it 3 days early. And so it's like, when these conversations started and these reviews started coming out, yeah, the Polygon review came out today. The
wow.
Because they needed to play the whole game. Um and they didn't get a early access. And let's see when
Yeah, Chubby Come Quiet. That's their name on Twitter. It's definitely
February
Jim Sterling.
6th, yeah, a week ago, you know. So it's like the conversations that have been happening. Oh wait, no, that was when it was up. Oh yeah, it was updated that. So yeah, the conversations that have been happening in the past week about the quality of the game are so shaped by, you know, who had fucking early access to it.
Right. And that's something movie studios do too. Like when they know that a movie is bad, they just won't give out review copies to reviewers, no matter how big the movie was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much that's a factor, combined with, we want to basically just juice the deck, by having sympathetic reviewers first, and then eventually the commentary catches up to, like, all of these people are fighting, like Transpeak said, it's Gamergate 2. Their right to consume things, their right to be a gamer feels under attack, and it's all this fighting and justification for a game that's not even any good. Like,
Yeah. It's
it was
so
never, because it was
depressing.
never about that.
It's so depressing how far the Overton window got pushed with Gamergate, because so much of it feels like so much of what was so disgusting about the things that were said during that time have been so normalized by like the people on the right, like not within, media dialogue in general, but like, there's still so much the both sides of like, well, yeah, this, the alt right, like the people on the right are still given a platform, and on the right,
Hmm.
like so much of the things that were so disgusting about the Gamergate movement are just normalized, like, the horrible misogyny and anti-press stuff, and yeah, and it makes it hard to talk
Yeah.
about the actual ways in which games journalism is fucked up, just like every other media kind of journalism, like.
Yeah, and like, we can never forget that Steve Bannon and Milo Yiannopoulos both started out as Gamergaters. That's where they started,
Yeah.
and where they really, noticed that, like, people who get really attached to their media properties, because in part due to like capitalist alienation and just like how lonely and unsatisfying many people's lives are, but also, it's also because they're like white boys who, like, that's their only problem, and a lot of us have other problems, to kind of deal with, like, so they're easier to kind of radicalize, that combination of factors.
Yeah.
And like, they will just get so incensed at any challenge, to like any potential perceived threat to losing their one thing that, like, is their waifu pillow, their like emotional support racist game.
Yeah.
um you know and you can weaponize that for political purposes, and they're really active because they're online all the time. So
Ugh. Gamers, you.
gamers, bad, canceled. Gaming was a mistake.
uh Wait, let me see if I can find this fucking game. They targeted gamers. We're a group of people who will sit for hours, days, even weeks on end, performing some of the hardest, most mentally demanding tasks, over and over and over, all for nothing more than a little digital token saying we did. We'll punish ourselves doing things others would consider tortures because we think it's fun. We'll spend most of, not all of our free time min-maxing the stats of a fictional character, all to draw out a single extra point of damage per second.
Oh my god. No ethical gaming under journalism. That's very good. Gamers don't deserve rights. That's true. That's true. We are people who will sit for hours. Posters. Gamers stretch. Play Hogwarts, but like work on your lower back flexibility.
Oh my god. Oh.
Oh boy. So do we want to end with
Up
like a little
yours,
freak,
woke
just to?
moralists.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
I love them.
I have to go, so it'll have to be quick. But I think that I was thinking that
Oh,
too. That's a great idea.
okay. I don't know if you. Woo! Thanks for being here, freaks. So unless you have any other ones that you've noticed in the inbox, one that popped on my dashboard was the shrew-faced squirrel.
No, let's do it. Oh, why does
I'm
it?
sorry again, everyone, that my phone keeps falling over.
You've been
Shaky cam.
you have been a king keeping keeping your phone wrangled.
I don't know about that, but oh, look at the dancing little butt creatures in the chat. Thank you, freaks.
Oh my god. What is it? Shrew face?
Shrew-faced squirrel. I saw one that looked very freaky, but I don't know if they're all.
Oh my god, look at him.
Abby, Abby boy,
Look at how small he
look at
is.
that. Oh my god, he's so pitiful.
Oh my god. Rhinoceros. Why is Rhino in there?
I think that has to do with nose, right?
Oh, okay. All right.
He's got a nose. Imperiled energy. I love that drip cat. I love imperiled energy.
It's so small.
Oh, he's freaking around. Oh my god.
Let's see if we can get a closer up video.
Yes. Enhance. Computer enhance.
Enhance. So much of these are not actually, they're just squirrel videos. We love squirrels, but... Oh!
Ooh. Those delicate little feet. Dump truck is doing well. Actually, he's recently learned how to self-suck. So that's
No!
dump truck news. Yeah. At 7 years old.
That's your life now, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe he's always been doing it and he's just become comfortable openly doing it. But I'm happy for him.
Look at that tail!
Oh my god. So animal.
Look at that snout!
Oh my god. I love the people being good for him, dump truck leveled up, living his best life. Oh my god.
Very
Eating a little
creature.
banana.
This is in Thailand, Joe. So I posted one of those memes on my Facebook years ago, and the next morning I got somebody responded like, I watched this right before I fell asleep, and then I had a nightmare about it. It's like, oh no.
So good.
All right, let's
They even have a bench to sit on. Yes. A little picnic. Little picnic table.
Oh, what? Does quotes not actually work in YouTube? Does that not actually get it?
Oh, I don't know.
But yeah, look at this fucking boy.
Oh.
Look at this stub.
Oh my god. Is that a taxidermied one? No.
Yeah. It looks so bad.
Oh.
Poor baby.
Ew. Oh.
No.
Oh. I don't think It's a Monster who does taxidermy is in the chat today, but I wish they could see that. Oh my god. So mangy.
Oh, they're so good. So that's a really good boy. Yeah,
There's
they
so
have.
many mammals that are just like mammal.
I couldn't think of another one, so here's another mammal. It's just that fucking what is that? Oh my god, the movie with um the bunny. Oh my god, my fucking. Did you make another friend today? Yes. Real or imaginary? Imaginary.
Oh, with the bunny, you mean Donnie Darko?
Yeah. It's just, did you make another animal today? Yeah. Another default mammal or something different? Default mammal again.
Default mammal. It's just like a fucked up like child's drawing of a dog that looks awful.
Mangy ass tail. Oh.
Drip Cat was like Zootopia.
Yeah.
Finally, the Donnie Darko Zootopia crossover.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I gotta get going. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having this conversation with us, y'all. This was a deep one, and thank you guys. Thank you for the subs too, and thanks for hanging out with us. We were literally gonna play a game. We were like, we should play a game instead of Hogwarts Legacy, like something that is either a better wizard game or just something made by trans people. And we are like, there's no way. We have way too much stuff to talk about to be able to do something else. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Oversolar. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we got into a lot of shit today, but I feel like it's still like, even though we didn't have things to break it up, like it felt pretty good flow. So thank
Yeah,
you guys for
absolutely.
all being here.
Art versus drugs
Yeah.
stream where we just do look at art and do drugs. We're allowed.
Or make art, make art while on drugs.
That's yeah. We did have an idea for a drinking game stream.
We should definitely do that
That'd
with
be
some
fun.
movie or video that we can, or YouTube video that we can get away with watching on here. An evening, maybe.
Hmm.
Make PowerPoints while on drugs.
Oh my
I
god.
already do, baby.
Yeah. That's my day job.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Absolutely.
thank you everybody, and we'll see you on the flip. Uh,
Yeah. See y'all soon.
let's see if we can find somebody to
Oh
raid.
yeah. Somebody to raid.
Diva Panda
Okay. Yeah.
playing World of Warships, a game with no controversies around it.
Very good.
Okay. Bye
All
guys.
right. Bye everyone.